So I will call to order the April 4th, 2024 regular meeting of the Hendersonville City Council. We begin our meetings with a silent invocation for people to pray or meditate as they choose, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'll rise, please. You'll join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have two people signed up for general comment this evening. Is there anybody online who wishes to be recognized for general public comment?
Yes, Madam Mayor, 2 hands are raised.
2 hands? Okay. So we'll probably go with about 3 minutes per person. We'll start with the people who are present. And what I would ask is if you come to the microphone and give your name and address for the clerk's record, please. First is Gina Baxter.
Hi, thank you for your time. Gina Baxter, 606 Hebron Road. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Environmental Sustainability Board. The ESB supports the effort to revise the tree ordinance requirements, and we also recognize the value of the tree board in critical decisions around zoning, and remain concerned that the fee in lieu schedule does not adequately reflect the value of trees in the city's canopy. The ESB would like to suggest an incentive plan for developers to replace lost tree canopy with native trees, as significant portions of the canopy are often lost to development. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve Pettis.
Hello, my name is Steve Pettis. I'm a Henderson County Extension agent, but I'm here as a citizen of the city of Hendersonville, a new citizen that just moved here. My address is 224 Lyndhurst Drive. I've been living in the county before this, so never taken much interest in Hendersonville matters, but now that I'm here, and I understand just very recently, like today, I've learned about the tree ordinance and the proposed changes and things, and I just wanted to make a couple of comments. If you've followed my work locally, you'll know that I'm an advocate for tree protection and tree health. That's what I spend a lot of my time on. And I have worked in the past as an International Society of Arboriculture certified arborist, and I've also worked with the city on their tree ordinance. Athens, Clarke County in Georgia, where the University of Georgia is located, is where I resided for many years. I was a adjunct non-voting member of that board. And I just wanted to mention a few things that I hope that you'll make sure to include in your ordinance. And there are 4 things. And one is that if you don't require tree plans from developers, that is basically a tree assessment of all the trees that are on the property, how big they are, and what the species are, then you don't know what you're starting with. So you can then, second thing, require them to replace a certain percentage of the trees that are removed. And then the trees that are removed, make sure that they're replacing those with species that are on a certain list. The third thing is a city needs a community forester or / city arborist. That's a very helpful position to have in managing the tree ordinance and the tree forest. And finally, once you have that community forester doing and making a complete inventory of trees that the city owns, so these are trees within the city's right-of-way, so that you know what you have and how to protect them. So I was just to encourage the council to make sure that those 4 things are in the tree ordinance. And if you ever need any more information, I'm more than happy to consult with you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Right. If you could call the people who are online.
Lynn, you are unmuted.
Good evening. Lynn Williams, Chadwick Avenue. I wanted to thank the ESB for writing the letter of support for the tree board's recommendations. I also wanted to thank Steve Pettis from the NC Cooperative Extension for coming out in support of the tree ordinance and lending his expertise, well, much needed to this ordinance. Just wanted to once again express support for the tree ordinance with the continued tree board oversight to ensure any, bumps along the way as we implement the ordinance. So oversight over developments, because they do provide other benefits during the process, besides feet on the ground and help with negotiations. Also, to continue the requirement of a detailed tree survey, as Mr. Pettis just explained, provided by the developer, needed to clearly make an educated decision about what we've got on the property and what needs to happen to protect our valuable resources. Also, care and concern is needed for what's under the canopy, and also habitat quality and protections. Reviews of this, if we only do it from satellite pictures, we won't be able to truly get an adequate understanding of the green infrastructure that we have. As I stated last time at the public hearing, Asheville has different zones according to density and natural features, and there's different requirements within the ordinance for these zones. Also, we need a stringent and costly fee in lieu of that reflects the true value of actual trees. For example, I think we talked about somewhere of the range of $120,000 to $160,000 per 50-year-old tree in benefits that it brings to our community. We spoke about that last month. Also, we'd ask for a requirement that there's committee approval for fee in lieu ofs, preferably no fee in lieu ofs, but if so, then committee approval, whether it's the zoning, planning, but not just an administrative review. Also, the city does need a tree inventory so we can keep real-time updates linked with development tree surveys. Arborists and urban foresters are essential in making crucial decisions, helping protect, maintain, plan, and respond to the welfare of our environment and canopy. Age, diversity, placement, climate, hotspot analysis are important metrics for key decisions regarding floodplain emergency management, migration patterns, climate and pest management, protected green space and wildlife. And lastly, I just wanted to reiterate all the points of the previous speakers and thank the tree board and for the council to take up this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And the second person?
Ken Fitch, you are unmuted.
Ken Fish, 1046 Patton Street. 3 points. First, we wish to congratulate Barbara Hughes as the recent recipient of the Heart for Hospitality Award, recognizing her long-term heartfelt commitment to kindness and hospitality in her life's work among us. She has been an unceasing advocate for a spirit of welcoming in the Main Street corridor, including her sponsorship of a wide range of distinctive events that enliven our civic life, and indeed, one is underway right now. Point 2, regarding the proposed tree canopy zoning text amendment, one must reiterate a request to reconsider the proposal to eliminate the tree board review of a conditional rezoning. The planning board, in their review of the amendment, stated that the tree board should retain its role in the review process. The goal here is to render informed decisions on the matters under consideration. The tree board assesses not only trees, but also the vegetated landscape and its constituent elements. And that significantly includes protection of pollinators and their tree and plant destinations as significant to the vegetative environment and the local economy. We are a tree city and a bee city in large part because of the tree board's active role in protecting our interconnected vegetative environment. And the tree board's essential work represents an active stewardship of resources of value to the residents that should be respected and continued in ongoing deliberation. Removal of the tree board would be a grave mistake and represent a policy decision of some consequence and significance. Point 3, it's just a question. In the discussion of water and sewer system development fees, something to the effect was stated that the city could not render an adjustment in fees for affordable housing projects, for which those fees might present an insurmountable barrier. The question is whether these affordable housing projects would be eligible to apply for grant funding from outside funding sources to enable such projects to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Does anyone wish to respond to any of the comments? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, first item of business is consideration of the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have added to or removed from the agenda? Or a motion to approve? Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. We've got our agenda. Consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda so it can be discussed? Or if not, a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, move City Council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Motion passes, and we have a lot of things taken care of. Now, we have several presentations this evening. First is True Ridge Latinx, Melissa Escobar, Executive Director.
Hello.
Good evening.
Thank you to all council members. Major Bolt, thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be in your presence. My name is Melissa Escobar, and I'm the Executive Director at True Ridge, and I'm here to talk about our organization and give you an update on everything we've been going through the last couple of years, especially in 2022. So let me see. Let me start. See if I can make this work. Oh, yeah. So at the end of 22, our founder and executive director, Lori McCammon, retired after 6 years in that position. So I took the role as an interim ED, and then at the end of 22, and then I was named permanent ED in March of 2023. Since then, we have restructured our organization. We have moved to a new location. We are now located at First United Methodist Church, which has been a great blessing. They've been so accommodating to us, so we are very lucky to be part of that church. We also started a new program. So just in 2023, we provided services for 1,623 clients in this community. And who do we serve? And we serve the underserved, who are the immigrants, Hispanic community, survivors of crime, students, and farm workers. The census states that the estimated population in Hendersonville is 15,099, and 6.9% identify as Hispanic, and we suspect this number is a little higher. True Reach and has been instrumental in addressing the needs for the bilingual and linguistically appropriate services in Hendersonville and surrounding areas. Actually, at the moment, it's the only organization that provides direct services and comprehensive services for this community. Just in the city of Hendersonville, there is an estimated 7.2% Hispanic residents. However, the need for our services expands not only to our clients, but to all these organizations that have to serve this community. And they don't have the capacity, the resources, or they're not culturally competent to serve the Latino community. In 2023, we provided support to 25 organizations, including Save Light, Hendersonville Police Department, Sheriff's Department, Pisca Legal, City of Hendersonville, just to name a few. But the list is, we include the colleges, the schools. It's a lot longer than that, and we have a really important role right now. Since 2017, when True Reach was founded, we had served 2,232 clients. Just this week, I met with the interim ED from the free clinics and also met with the general manager at the rescue mission. In both cases, they are asking for help to address the needs to serve the Hispanic community. So what are our programs? So our core program is our advocacy program, and we provide assistance with referrals to community resources, behavioral health appointments, assistance with legal documents, core advocacy and accompaniment, short and long-term case management, liaison between law enforcement and legal system, assistance with filing protective orders, referrals to attorneys, interpretations, translation, notary service. We also have the Farm Worker Program Relief, which is a federal grant, and we have been able to provide a one-time relief payment of $600 to farm workers just during 2023. We have given out 1,000 cars. We supposed to give 2,500, which probably is like $1,800,000 that is going to be, direct to the economy. So that's one thing that we have done. Our education program, so we provide information and referrals to education resources, support for educational scholarships, and financial aid and guidance through FAFSA, and residency determination status, which is a big problem the schools are facing because they don't know how to help the schools with different statuses in the schools to be able to attend college or any secondary education. Finally, we have our health program. We worked really hard during COVID, and we work with Party. We provide, if we have a chance to provide mammograms we do health events to give services to people that might not be able to afford going to a doctor or going to take a test or getting vaccines and things like that. So we provide that service. And then we also have our immigration programs, and Christina Holgraven, our immigration attorney, is gonna talk to you about that program now.
Hi, I'm Christina Holtgraven. I'm an immigration attorney. I started volunteering at True Ridge actually in 2020, and through my volunteer time there, I learned that there was a need for folks in our community to be able to hire an immigration attorney. So then that's when I started raising money to start the program in January of 2023. So essentially it's a law firm within True Ridge. We just do immigration law, and we charge what are called low bono fees. And so we're able to serve anyone in Western North Carolina that are 400% and below the poverty line. The program's been open for 1 year. And last year, and I'm the only attorney and we have one paralegal, so I did over 146 consultations last year. We helped 9 folks become citizens, and we helped 5 of them to get their legal permanent residence, 15 humanitarian visas, and over 15 asylum referrals. I'm seeing a lot of new folks coming to our community that are new to our community and new to the country. And it's very confusing for anyone, whether you have immigration status or not, to navigate our systems here when you don't speak the language, you're not familiar with our laws. And so I spend a lot of time welcoming those folks and just explaining to them what their immigration rights are, what their rights are just as being human beings here, and then trying to connect them to services to make sure that they know that their kids can be in school and that there are places for them to go to get help.
Thank you, Christina. So, lastly, so I just want to say, our challenges, we foresee there's a growing demand for programs and services, especially due to the socioeconomic factors, demographic shifts, and increased community needs. And I see it especially when I meet with other nonprofits, everybody's going through the same thing. So this situation could mean a straining capacity, including staff burnout. We deal with really, really tough cases, and sometimes like one day I came to work and a client might need resources to repatriate a body to their country of origin. So things that you never thought, that you don't go to school to kind of deal with that kind of things. You just have to find a way to do it and help these people. So resources and infrastructure, financial sustainability is another challenge. We, as nonprofits, we struggle a lot, and sometimes depending on the fundings and donations, it kind of goes up and down, and it's hard to plan for the future. So we are always kind of afraid that we're not going to be able to last the next year. So we go year to year. So we would like to keep working in this community, advancing our mission, helping our clients. And so we are here just to tell you what we're doing, and we're thankful, and thank you for listening to what we do, what we've been doing. And if you have I don't know if you have any questions, but I don't know if you guys do questions, but thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
No? Okay. Thank you both. Right, next we have Rhodes Scholar Awards from the NCLTAP. And who is Mr. Wooten?
Mr. Wooten.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, Tom Wooten, Public Works Director. It's my pleasure to be here tonight to recognize 2 Public Works employees, Traffic Supervisor Brent Pope, who could not be with us tonight, and Public Works Superintendent Brandon Mundy, for completing their North Carolina Local Technical Assistance Program's Advanced Road Scholar Program. This is a second-level certification that requires completion, originally of the Road Scholar Program, which they've done, plus another 8 additional classes, and completion of a technical review paper. By completing this program, both gentlemen have earned this professional award for themselves and for the city of Hendersonville. So it's my pleasure to present Brandon with his certificate of completion. Thank you. And so I just want to say, take that opportunity and say congratulations, Brandon. We appreciate it. Keep up the good work. We look forward to more of those.
Okay,
Thank you.
another picture. Okay, congratulations. Thank you for going above and beyond to improve the work you do for the city. Right, next is the ESB Sustainability Hero Award. I believe Mary Ellen Custon is doing this for the Environmental Sustainability Board.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me. Madam Mayor, members of the council, as stated, I'm Mary Ellen Custon, and I have the privilege of serving on our city's Environmental Sustainability Board. I am the ESB's immediate past chair, and I'm filling in tonight for our current chair, Kelly Pauley, this evening. And on behalf of the Environmental Sustainability Board, it is my honor to present the second annual Hendersonville Sustainability Hero Award. As you all know, sustainability is one of the city's core values. Our board feels it is important to honor a city employee or team that has been a champion for change and responsible for the development and implementation of sustainable practices in our city. This year's recipient has exemplified all the qualities and characteristics of a sustainability hero. And tonight we would like to take a moment to celebrate this person's leadership and outstanding innovation and service to our community. This year's Sustainability Hero Award recipient has greatly improved the efficiency of the city's brush collection program. Historically, the brush collection truck would pass every household, whether they had brush to collect or not, which my young children loved, by the way, because it has a knuckle boom. But now the solid waste pickup crews flag the locations of brush to generate a more efficient and cost-saving brush collection. One of the goals in the recently presented sustainability plan is to reduce the city fleet fuel usage by 40%. These route changes are helping advance city efforts toward meeting that goal while also resulting in less wear and tear on our city vehicles. This year's Sustainability Hero is also leading the way in studying the efficiency of the city's trash and recycling routes. The results of this study will further help reduce the city's fuel usage. Lastly, our hero has implemented a tracking program through ArcGIS that tracks contaminated recycling and trash bins, in addition to gathering other helpful information. Through the implementation of this system, the city is gaining more data to help inform areas for improvement when it comes to waste reduction and contamination. And of course, when we think about the ways that the city can be more sustainable, we often think about the upfront costs of retrofitting fleets or buying new equipment such as solar panels, and the returns on those investments take time. So it's important to also look at what the city is already doing and find ways to improve services to be more efficient and thus more sustainable. So we commend this year's award recipient for doing just that. And y'all probably know who it is already, but on behalf of the Environmental Sustainability Board, I would like to recognize our fine city's Public Works Superintendent, Mr. Brandon Mundy, as this year's Sustainability Hero. And it's a cool reused materials award. Congratulations. Sorry. You like to hold it? Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Congratulations again. Thank you for everything you do. Right, next we have a special presentation from Congressman Chuck Edwards, District Representative Tommy Lauder. Come on down.
There you go. Evening, Council. I'm here on behalf of Congressman Edwards. My name's Tommy Lauder. I'm the field representative for Congressman Chuck Edwards. Congressman Edwards regretfully could not be here tonight, but he wanted to make sure to send his best to all members of the council and to their wonderful city manager, John Connick. So, but with that being said, I'm here at the direction of Congressman Edwards to do something very, very special on behalf of the congressman. If we go back to the week of January 17th, I was coming back to Hendersonville with the congressman from Madison County, and he said, "Mr. Lauder, what are you doing this week?" And I said, "Sir, I'm going to the Chief Association's dinner at Cherokee on Wednesday night." And Congressman Edwards said, our chief's the president of the association. Chief Mahan is. And I said, "Yes, sir, I know that." And he says, "Well, I want you to go up there to make sure that he is recognized and thanked for everything not only he does for the city of Hendersonville, but what he does and what he represents for the state of North Carolina and what he does for the whole law enforcement community of the United States." So with that being said, Congressman Edwards wanted to recognize his efforts of Chief Mahan for not only what he's done for this year representing the police association, but what he's done in his career. And the wonderful thing that Congressman Edwards did, he went on the House floor and gave some words to our speaker on behalf of Chief Mahan. So with your permission, I'd like to read it. Mr. Edwards, "Mr. Speaker, I rise today to honor Police Chief Blair Mahan in recognition of his service as the 2023 President of the North Carolina Association Chiefs of Police for decades of commitment to public safety. Chief Mahan is a decorated war veteran, longtime law enforcement officer, and has served as Hendersonville's police chief since 2021. In 1994, Chief Mahan began his law enforcement career with the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C. During his service, Chief Mahan was a member of the highly trained emergency response team assigned to the sniper unit. Notably, Chief Mahan, one of the 3 MPD first responders to the Pentagon on September 11, 2011. For his heroism on September 11, Chief Mahan was awarded the Army Accommodation Medal. Chief Mahan bravely served our nation during Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan and Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq, and rose to the rank of Infantry First Sergeant in the United States Army. During his tour in Afghanistan, Chief Mahan was awarded the Bronze Star Medal. Upon moving to North Carolina in 2005, Chief Mahan has served as Apex Police Department Captain, Clayton Police Department Chief of Police, and is currently the Hendersonville Police Chief. As president of North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police, Chief Mahan earned the true and respect of all of his colleagues and public alike by diligently working to represent and support law enforcement officers and their interests. Again, sir, congratulations, Chief, on your successful tenure as president. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you on behalf of all the people of Western North Carolina. Thank you, sir. And just to let you know, he got a flag that has been flown over the Capitol. And on behalf of what I have to say, he's just a wonderful human being. I'm honored to call him a friend, and the City Council and the City of Hendersonville is lucky to have him. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Well-deserved recognition. Thank you. Thank you for coming, Tommy. All right. Okay, well, we have some public hearings this evening. So have to move into those. The first is a rezoning, conditional zoning district, the Lofts at Chadwick. Mr. Morrow.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. The city is in receipt of a conditional rezoning application for a property located at 904 Greenville Highway. The property is made up of one parcel. The applicant is Stephen Drake of Broadcraft Construction. The property is currently zoned Greenville Highway Mixed Use Conditional Zoning District. The applicant is requesting to rezone the property to a different conditional zoning district in the Greenville Highway Mixed Use Zoning. The subject property is approximately 2.25 acres. And the proposal is to construct 60 low-income housing tax credit senior multifamily units on this property. And the 2030 comprehensive plan designates this parcel as high-intensity neighborhood. The property is currently zoned for a different conditional zoning district. The previous development received rezoning approval from City Council on March 3rd, 2022. The current conditional zoning district does have active entitlements. The conditional zoning district was approved for 3 buildings totaling 117,600 square feet of gross floor area. Each of the buildings had a footprint of 9,800 square feet. The development proposed 70 multifamily units. The buildings were proposed to be a 3- and 4-story split design with a max height of 42 feet. The development also proposed 91 parking spaces, but required to only have 70. The development was also approved with 6 conditions. Those 6 conditions are shown on the screen. These conditions will not be in place for the Lofts of Chadwick project unless they are added to the project by City Council. These are all for historical reference only, but I will provide some information on how the Lofts of Chadwick project fits into these conditions for the previous multifamily project that's entitled for this site. Once again, these would not or are not currently conditions tied to the Lofts of Chadwick project, and if they were to be included, they'd have to be added by City Council. The first condition was the result of the city reviewing the TIA provided by the previous development. The city's traffic consultant made the recommendation of moving the site entrance as far away from Greenville Highway and Chadwick Avenue from that intersection as possible. The Lofts of Chadwick did incorporate this into their design. The second condition revolved around providing 7.5 feet of right-of-way from the center line of Chadwick Avenue. The Lofts of Chadwick are providing a 25-foot right-of-way from the center line of Chadwick Avenue and also 25 feet on Greenville Highway to the NCDOT and the city. So the third condition revolved around preserving open space and providing green stormwater infrastructure. On the current plan, it appears that the Lofts of Chadwick are proposing some green stormwater infrastructure as part of their proposal. The fourth condition was requesting what was then considered a natural drainage area to be preserved, but did indicate that it should be improved. This area is now shown as a blue line stream on the latest USGS maps, which would trigger the blue line stream or stream buffer requirements. The current developer is asking a condition concerning this stream. The fifth condition revolved around the preservation of trees and that they'd be done in accordance with the zoning ordinance. The Lofts of Chadwick are providing some tree protection measures, but they do not conform with section 5 or 15-4. Lastly, the last condition concerned additional hardscaping provided at the intersection of Greenville Highway and Chadwick Avenue. Instead of hardscaping, the current proposal is incorporating some distinct architectural details at the corner of the building, and then the developer can speak on that or his architect. So moving into some site photos as the site currently exists. Top left is the view of the area depicted as a blue line stream on the northeastern property boundary. The photo was taken after a rainfall event. The debris is from the adjacent parcel. Top right is a typical view of the mature trees on the site with existing impervious surfaces. Bottom left is a typical view of the existing mobile home pads within the subject property. Bottom right is a view of the approximate location of the proposed drive for the development, looking towards the intersection of Greenville Highway and Chadwick Avenue. On the screen is the site plan for this development that's before you tonight, which includes 60 units, which has a gross floor area of 75,000 square feet and building footprint of 25,000 square feet. The site will be accessed by one point of access, which is off Chadwick Avenue, which is considered a local street. The development will not be utilizing either of the existing accesses that are present on the site. The Greenville Highway access will be removed altogether, and the Chadwick access will be moved further away from the intersection. The parking required is 60 spaces. The proposal shows 70 spaces, 10 of which are ADA spaces, and all parking is at the side or rear of the building. All interior drive aisles are proposed to be 26 feet, and this is in the alignment of Appendix D of the Fire Code. This development will be required to provide vehicular use landscaping, street trees, common open space trees, And for their mixed-use open space shrubs, they are proposing to create a pollinator garden of perennials and shrubs along the northeastern property boundary running parallel to that blue line stream. As I mentioned, it does have a blue line stream present, which triggers our 30-foot stream buffer protections and also the 20-foot transitional area protections as well. We do not have a full grading plan showing the actual limits of disturbance as part of the preliminary site plan, but the plan does show impervious surfaces with approximately 25 feet from the stream at its closest point, and the building's approximately 75 feet from the stream at its closest point. I will mention the blue line stream was not present in the 2009 Comprehensive Plan's Natural Resource Chapter, and it was also not shown on the 2019 USGS maps. Also, according to the 2008 FEMA floodplain maps, no portion of the property falls within the floodway or special flood hazard area. So the building height is proposed to be 3 stories with 36 feet 3 inches at its highest point. The building and site will be required to meet all building and design requirements of the Greenville Highway mixed-use developments. And this includes but not limited to building materials, building offsets, building projections, building orientation, and building scale. So moving into the conditions. So these are conditions that have been agreed to by the developer and are currently shown on the plans. These are developer proposed conditions. Without going through each of those in full detail, I'll kind of give some highlights, and if we have any questions, I can go in more detail. So the first condition is concerning the preservation of trees, where they are proposing to preserve or give protections to some of the trees. They cannot go the full distance that's required by the ordinance, but they are proposing a replanting if the trees die. And this condition is a counter to a condition proposed by the tree board concerning tree preservation. They are also asking a condition to eliminate the requirement of a loading and unloading zone. They're also asking for a condition concerning stream buffer requirements, where they are saying that they would like for that stream buffer requirement to be waived since the stream was not shown on the 2019 USGS maps, but is now shown on those maps. They do say that they will have an environmental scientist do a determination of whether it is a blue line stream or not during the final site plan approval phase, but would still not like to have to be constrained by the requirements to treat it as a blue line stream. This condition is a counter to the tree board's recommended condition as well as the City of Hendersonville zoning ordinance requirement. And then they have a condition proposed for the facade where the ordinance says that you cannot go 16 feet without an offset. They're proposing that you can't go 24 feet without an offset. And then they're also proposing the condition that this has to be a low-income housing tax credit project. So if this condition is approved with the project would be tied to having to be a low-income housing tax credit project. So moving into city proposed conditions. These conditions were proposed by the tree board. The first one is concerning invasive species as far as trees, shrubs, and ground cover, and the removal of those. The second one is concerning the trees that are being removed and making sure that they are replaced with large maturing trees, and the canopy trees, and they point out which species would be applicable for that, and the developer has agreed to those 2 conditions. These are 2 more city proposed conditions, both of which are also from the tree board. The developer did not agree to these, but they did provide counters to those under the developer proposed conditions. The first one is concerning the protections of those trees, and the second one is concerning the stream buffer and its rehabilitation and replanting. So moving into the neighborhood compatibility meeting. The neighborhood compatibility meeting for this project was held on February 1st, 2023, and there were a total of 21 residents in attendance. We also received 6 pre-submitted public comments for this meeting. The main comments or topics that were discussed were the consideration of the impacts of increased traffic, the flooding impacts in the surrounding area, adding impervious surfaces to the site, the entrance location related to Greenville Highway, and additional parking needs for this development. So moving into the zoning, this parcel is at the intersection of Greenville Highway and Chadwick Avenue and represents the beginning of the Greenville Highway mixed-use zoning district. The GHMU district extends along Greenville Highway towards the village of Flat Rock. Parcels to the south along the corridor are all zoned Greenville Highway mixed use or Greenville Highway mixed use special use and consist of a mix of commercial and residential uses. These properties to the east of the subject parcel are zoned R15, which is a medium-density residential district, and consists of a typical suburban-style single-family home neighborhood. Parcels to the north are zoned C3 and representative of the hub of commercial activity found around the intersection of Greenville Highway and Spartanburg Highway. The subject property is about 0.85 miles or a 15 to 20-minute walk from downtown using the historic courthouse as a destination point. Approximately 13 mobile homes were once present on this site. Internal drives, unit pads, and abandoned electric meter poles and boxes can still be found on the site today. The previous development appears to go back to at least 1984, and it also appears that sometime between 2016 and 2018, that mobile home development was removed. The subject property is located at a boundary edge of the high-intensity neighborhood district, which transitions into a neighborhood activity center along Chadwick Avenue, intersection with Greenville Highway. It is also in close proximity to the activity node located at the intersection of Greenville Highway and Spartanburg Highway. Not only does this location serve as a transition area for the intensity related to the activity node, but also the intensity of uses along Greenville Highway. Subject property is designated, as I mentioned, as high-intensity neighborhood, which is the goal of this designation is to encourage low-maintenance, high-density housing that supports neighborhood and regional activity centers and downtown and provides a transition between commercial and single-family development. It promotes walkable neighborhood design that creates attractive and functional roadway corridors in multifamily residential neighborhoods. The goals and primary recommended land uses and development guidelines for this designation are in your staff report, but I'm happy to go into those in more detail if you'd like for me to. The property is also designated as a priority infill area. The chapter also talks about the need of affordable housing. The affordable housing need has only increased since the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2009. So I won't go through all the comprehensive plan's relevant goals and actions and strategies, but I will touch on a few. The complete list is included in the staff report. So for the population and housing chapter, it talks about promoting compatible infill development, developing design guidelines for infill development, encourage provisions for affordable housing units in new developments, and develop performance standards or density bonuses that encourages at least 10% of new housing units sold to be affordable for people making 80% AMI. So for the natural environmental resource, there's a goal to preserve environmentally sensitive areas in order to protect life, property, and from natural hazards. There's also a goal to protect land adjacent to streams, to protect water quality, and to encourage the tree preservation through providing existing tree credits towards landscaping requirements. Moving on to cultural resources, there's no goals, strategies, or actions directly related to this project. Same for community facilities. For water resources, it does encourage low impact development practices in stormwater management. For transportation and circulation, Greenville Highway is designated as a major thoroughfare in need of improvement. Walk Hendo identified sidewalks on Greenville Highway as a priority, and also sidewalks on Chadwick Avenue were identified as a priority. Moving into compatibility, the subject property is currently vacant and previously developed site. The proposed development site is located in the commercial corridor near the U.S. and State Route intersection of Spartanburg Highway and Greenville Highway. Subject property is in the general proximity of downtown. And the design guidelines of Greenville Highway mixed use ensures that the development is in scale compatible with the surrounding corridor. Change conditions, the southern end of Hendersonville has continued to develop as a key commercial node for the city, with a wide range of grocery stores, restaurants, pharmacies, retail shops, services, and high-density residential. So public interest, as you all are aware of the Bowen study, the city, over the last 4 years, the city of Hendersonville has approved 1,915 rental units. 218 of those are currently inactive, which means they've been dormant for more than 6 months. However, of that total, only 103 of the units are active affordable housing units for residents making 30 to 80% AMI. Public facilities development will be considered an infill development. It utilizes existing roadways and infrastructure. Water and sewer infrastructure are already present in Greenville Highway and Chadwick Avenue, and this site is already served by Hendersonville Police and Fire. So as I've touched on with the environmental pieces, with the blue line stream, the mature trees, and the floodplain considerations in the close proximity to the subject property. So the planning board made a motion recommending denial of this petition, but they did find it to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, but they did find it to be not reasonable or in the public interest, and that motion carried 4-2 at their March meeting. So this was the planning board's comprehensive plan consistency statement, which said the petition aligns with the city's 2030 comprehensive plan because it encouraged infill development in an area planned for high-intensity development as indicated as its priority infill area designation, and because multifamily residential of 8 or more units per acre is a primary recommended land use for high-intensity neighborhood designation. This was their rationale for denial, revolved around mature trees and their preservation credits, as well as the stream buffer requirements in protecting a blue line stream. We also have draft rationale for approval if you need that, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Would be the rent rate.
So I think that would probably be a better question for Mr. Drake. Stephen Drake is the developer. He is in attendance and he has a presentation as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that'd be a great question for Mr. Drake.
Any questions right now for Mr. Morrow? Okay, thank you. Yes, we could hear from the developer, please.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Stephen Drake. I work for Broadcraft Construction and Development. I'm also here representing WDT Development. Both of these companies specialize in providing affordable housing throughout North Carolina. We specialize in senior housing. That's 95% of our product. And it's just something that we've embraced over the years and have continued to develop over the last 10 years or so. But getting into the needs of affordable housing, demand for senior housing, especially affordable senior housing, is extremely strong within Hendersonville and also Henderson County. And we're responding to this crisis. It's really a nationwide crisis. And of course, we're affected here in North Carolina, Henderson County, and of course, here in the city of Hendersonville. There's just not enough affordable housing, be it, for families or for seniors, but especially for seniors, there's just not enough quality affordable housing. And so we are here to presenting the lofts of Chadwick as a remedy to help at least provide some additional housing to reduce the demand by some factor. Our community will consist of 60 apartment units. All of them will be highly energy efficient apartment homes. This is a North Carolina Housing Finance Association proposed development. It is age restricted for those that are 55 years and older. I would like to note that the average age of our tenants is 69, and we do plan on some deep targeting for this project. By deep targeting, we're looking to provide housing for those that are most vulnerable, those that have the least amount of monies at their disposal for housing. We're targeting folks making 30%, 50%, 60%, and 80% of the Henderson County average median income, which for 2023 is $76,000 and $76,800, and that figure is for a family of 4. This project is will have an affordability period of 30 years, minimum affordability period of 30 years. And of course, I probably won't be around after 30 years, but, maybe one of my daughters will carry this on. And certainly we hope that this perpetuates, it's our intention with older developments to continue the affordability and just recycle them in the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency program just to perpetuate, affordable housing. The project will have 31 one-bedroom units and also 30 two-bedroom units. It will feature an elevator, and 2 flights of stairs, which will provide access to all floors of the building. The building itself is 100% ADA accessible. There's no place within the building that someone with a mobility impairment will not be able to have access to. They'll be able to also access any point in the grounds. Outside, they'll be able to go to the gazebo. We've also planned a seating area that will be adjacent to a pollinator garden we've added along the stream. And there will be, it'll just be a benefit for anybody that has mobility impairment. It's a condition that, this will be a great thing for them to have. With regards to the building, aside from the apartment units, there will be a multitude of community spaces. Of course, we'll have an office for management, but we'll also have a community center, which is often used for Thanksgiving parties, Christmas parties, birthday parties. It's used a great deal. A lot of times when I'm visiting a property, there will be at least a small group, if not a larger group, making good use of the community space. We'll have a resident laundry center for those that do not have their own washer and dryer. Each apartment will have a laundry room with hookup for washer and dryer, but in the event that they're not able to afford a washer and dryer, we'll have on-site facilities for them so they won't have to travel somewhere and do their laundry. We'll have a game and craft room, a computer room with free internet access for residents, as well as a library. The common area grounds will feature landscaping utilizing an assortment of native plant species. There will also be a gazebo and a seating area as well, which will overlook the proposed pollinator garden, which we've included with our civil landscaping plan. The reason why we wish to build here and build this affordable housing community is quite simple. We need it. There's just an incredible amount of demand for affordable housing. This is an excellent opportunity to provide affordable housing for seniors. Demand is constantly outpacing supply in Hendersonville. During the application process, we obtained a market study through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. It's a third-party market study. It's not something that we engage to obtain, but we do receive this market study, and this particular project showed a capture rate of 3.9%, an overall capture rate. And what that means, if you're not familiar with market studies and capture rates, the lower the capture rate, the more demand there is for this community. And 3.9% is very low, which means there's an extreme high demand for this community. The development, this is, like I said, a North Carolina Housing Finance Association proposed project. It's the only one that was proposed this year in the 2024 application cycle. We've recently obtained the final site scores from the NCHFA. The entire process of trying to obtain award through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency is very difficult, very challenging. And this year, they've allowed total possible points of 71. We have secured the full amount, 71. We've scored 100% on our site score, and this means that we have a great chance of being awarded tax credits this year. And of course, all this hinges on getting the required zoning. The zoning approval must be in place by final application. One important thing I'd like to note is that this parcel of land already has it's already been rezoned. It has a conditional zoning district designation. And this is for multifamily housing, for market rate multifamily housing, 70 units. I don't know, we had a little slideshow. I don't know if that could be pulled up. I just wanted to show some figures. Oh, great, thank you. But what we're actually doing here is, what we're asking for is a downzoning. Right now, this 70-unit development, family market rate, if it was developed, it would create 380 trips today. That's pretty significant impact on traffic. In comparison, our proposed development, the traffic impact would be 209 trips a day. And the more important aspects are the AM peak and PM peak travel hours. The approved plan currently would produce 26 trips during the AM and 33 during the PM. And conversely, we're a third less. We have 8 trips in the morning, 11 trips in the afternoon. Our impact, from a perspective of traffic, is much less than what's currently allowed, what's currently zoned. And there's some other features I'd like to note is, one of the big things is just the overall square footage of the building. Our building, in comparison, our building is, the approved plan has 117,600 square feet. Our building is 71,842 square feet. This means our building is actually 39% smaller than what's already previously approved. Of course, we have the unit reduction. We have a building height reduction from 42 feet to 36 feet and 3 inches. We've also agreed to provide right-of-way dedication along Greenville Highway. The current approved plan allows for 0 right-of-way. We're going to dedicate 25 feet. And again, the current plan shows 7.5 feet for Chadwick, and we're offering up 25 feet for future road improvements for City of Hendersonville, as well as North Carolina DOT. So in review of the facts, you can see we're actually asking for much less than what is currently allowed. And since our project is 100% affordable housing, which is something that we desperately need in our community, I hope that this that will receive our rezoning approval. It's critical for our town, for our community, and is certainly needed. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any of them now.
Questions for Mr. Drake?
Yes, ma'am. The blue line,
Right.
you're willing to make that, all of the parking up close to that, pervious?
Right. That was something that was brought up during the last meeting, and it's something that that is a condition we will allow. There's, I believe, 10 parking spaces along there, and we can make those pervious parking places, which will allow water to seep through.
Other question was the needed a loading and unloading. You're willing to give 2 spaces up for that, marked for that, right?
Right. There was some.
Those are
concern
both
about-
2 new things that you're willing to do.
Right. That's correct. That is correct. There's concern about having some room space for postal services as well as Amazon. And there's 2 spaces that,
Yeah, emergency vehicles.
yeah, an emergency. And there's a couple of spaces that we can dedicate to that for sure.
All right.
Other questions? I believe they said that you were allowing more parking spaces than you were required to.
Right.
Why do you feel you need more than?
Just for visitors, sometimes, having just a few more spaces than necessary is good for holidays or events that we might have in the community. The North Carolina Housing Finance Agency requires 1 space per unit, whether that be a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom for a senior housing community. And we feel it's necessary to offer a little bit more. And a lot of this is based on dialogue I've had with our management company that operates the facility and runs it on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Cutting down on a few parking spaces could mean a little more green space or trees. They weren't absolutely necessary.
Right.
Other questions for Mr. Drake? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
We will open that public hearing. We have 2 people signed up here. Again, if you'll come to the microphone, give your name and address for the clerk's record. Sandy Williams.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Williams. I live at 309 Chadwick Avenue, and I'm against this development. We've lived on Chadwick Avenue for many, many years, and we've seen the traffic increase 100%. This is going to make the traffic on Chadwick impossible to get through. In other words, it's going to take you much longer to get from Greenville. And since the flooding, people have discovered that cut through between the Greenville Highway and Spartanburg Highway, which has increased the number of cars and trucks, including 18-wheelers occasionally going to Ingalls. So I was sitting on my porch, and there was a car or a vehicle going down my road, Chadwick, either one direction or the other, about every 10 seconds. And it's a single-lane road. And so the traffic is building on Greenville Highway now, where when you go to the traffic light, it stacks up behind the traffic light in all directions. It's nice that there's a traffic light there, but they're going to build a new subdivision on Greenville Highway, 202 Greenville Highway, and I think it's going to include maybe 25 single-family homes. So that's going to increase the traffic on Greenville Highway. During the flood, Greenville Highway was that we had recently, the road was totally, you couldn't drive up that way at all. You couldn't get past, even out of the city that direction. I'm concerned about the entrance and the exit because, yes, I'm a senior citizen and hopefully I'm a safe driver. But if the exits and the entrances are on Chadwick Avenue, the people leaving the apartments are going to have to go right or left on Chadwick Avenue, and there'll be traffic on that road constantly. So they'll be either waiting a long time to get on the road or they'll be taking a chance. And I'm just afraid of safety because to me, there's just a matter of time before someone's killed with that much traffic and that exit and entrance there. I was trying to think of what else. I would hope that you have taken a drive out there and looked at that property. And when you look at the property, when I look at the property, I just smile. I can't even imagine how they're going to fit all that they say they're going to fit on that tiny square on that corner. But I'm not an architect, and so they probably have worked it out. But it's just going to make driving on Chadwick impossible. And let's see what else I had here. The planning board did not approve it, and they felt like it was not a good place for that. And I understand the need for senior housing. I just don't think that's the place for seniors to live. Most of them still drive. Some couples have two cars, and there's not going to be space for 2 cars for the people who have cars. And I was smiling to myself. There is a bar, an active bar on the corner across the street from those apartments, which is going to be senior housing. I'm not sure that seniors are going to want to live across the street from a bar that's very loud on the weekends, not only with residents, but with motorcycles. And we can hear them down where we live, even though we're halfway down the street. We can hear them when the bar is open, and we can hear the motorcycles. So I'm not sure seniors are going to want to live across the street from a bar. So I probably can't think of anything else. I just can't imagine there being that many apartments on that corner with all the traffic and the bar across the street. So I'm against it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams. Joseph Williams.
Joseph Williams, folks, 309 Chadwick Avenue. That's my wife. Everything she says is true. I support her 100%. Only other comment I have is that I've been coming here since we've been married for over 50 years, and this has been a beautiful little town for many, many years. I hate to see it lose its small town charm. I'm sure you folks know that as well, so I'm sure you're doing the best you can. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone seeking recognition online?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have one hand raised.
Okay. Go ahead.
Ken Fitch, you are unmuted.
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. We have an urgent need for affordable senior housing in the city. So the arrival of a proposal for such a project would be most eagerly welcomed, especially this one that offers numerous amenities and in its disposition of units offers special units for those with higher levels of disability, and in addition, 2-bedroom units that easily accommodate extended families who occupy the limited housing units in the city. On a locational map, the site may seem ideal, but the actual conditions of traffic, flooding, and logistical constraints present challenging issues that the planning board considered in its thorough review and reluctantly rejected approval of the project. The basic problem here is the size of the parcel is too small to sustain and accommodate the density requested. On one side, there's the Blue Line Stream, which requires a 30-foot zone for protection, further limiting the available area for development. Although this may seem easily amendable, the stream is one of the tributaries of the complex Southside flood basin hydrology in which all tributaries and streams are interconnected. And alteration, compression, or construction of one tributary may generate impacts elsewhere. And of course, any developments upstream from the basin or in the network can have unexpected impact here and may indeed be one of the causes for this sudden reemergence of this Blue Line Stream. And the concern, of course, is that this site is at the edge of this flood basin in which we experience so many events. On site, also the removal of the large trees with capacity to absorb large amounts of water is also a potential source of impact. However, an even more daunting challenge presents itself. On the other side of the parcel, there's an ominous future matter for consideration. as NCDOT is requiring a 50-foot right-of-way, whereas the project site plan can only yield a 25-foot right-of-way to survive. And this raises a relevant question. Does NCDOT have a plan of which we are unaware to alter or widen Greenville Highway? If so, such a plan would be of relevance to area residents, businesses, and developers, especially here, where it would render this project and its already constricted site plan irreparably compromised and dysfunctional, and its future viability in question. As many residents would be quick to tell you, NCDOT has been a master purveyor of the unexpected, whether on Brevard Road, Haywood Road, Island Lake Road, or on the south side, reorienting as House Heidelberg recently discovered. Clearly, clarity on this issue is imperative going forward, as is the site plan for the value of this very valuable project is challenged to fit on this small parcel, necessitating constraints that are troubling, especially for those, the impact on these residents, some of whom will have disabilities or limited mobility, and others who are still in the workforce, and some whose living arrangements include extended families, so that the limited parking will be an issue, not only for residents, but also staff, visitors, and deliveries, as we've heard. And the lack of an adequate loading zone creates concern for inevitable vehicle overflow on site and elsewhere. One appreciates that there will be two parking spaces set aside, but will that be adequate, realistically? And as previous speaker said, negotiating entry and exit to this site be difficult because of the frequent traffic backup on Chadwick that often extends beyond the boundaries of this property. And essential for consideration, we must be concerned about emergency health issues that affect the residential demographic here. And unless the loading zone is adequate and the potential parking overflows and blockages are prevented, this will impede emergency access. A medical professional reviewing the plan had major concern for potential access issues when minutes and seconds determine life or death. The location of the site at the edge of the Southside flood basin and its frequent flood closures has raised concern with emergency access. Suggested remedies were other fire departments and Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3. Oh, I think Adam and Brian would not be happy to hear that at this time. It was further stated that the city would be responsible for emergency flood evacuation, and we remember hearing of Chief Myhan's four-person ship issues. And the underlying reality that we must consider is that development does require services that are labor-intensive and expensive. For this project, we are reminded that a vulnerable population does require some special considerations and extensive review for any approval, and we have some moral responsibility here. The planning board offered suggestions for mitigations, but they were deemed impossible to render. It was clear that if the project were located in another location, it would be approved immediately. But here the issues raise concerns that present a barrier for approval for a project to serve this population at this location. In closing, finally, I do wish to commend Tyler Morrow for his thoughtful handling of this process and his respect for all involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Anyone else seeking recognition? online?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, we did have one digital comment from Lynn Williams, 309 Chadwick Avenue.
She's here.
What? Oh, okay.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for calling on me. All right, here we are again, 904 Greenville Highway. So when we were previously here, I believe the project was by right, and your hands were tied behind your back, and I heard Mr. Smith say that you weren't able to include the residents' feedback because it was by right. So here we are again. Now it's not by right. Now you are in the position to leverage conditions or even a no vote to get a better design that considers more of the residents' feedback. So there was previously a traffic study. That traffic study for that project advised a turn lane. There's no turn lane proposed here in this proposal. The previous development had both an entrance and exit in two separate spots. Now this is only in one spot. I submitted a photo for your review of traffic backed up beyond the spot that's currently being proposed. Let's see, so we've had DOT signs put on the street. We have speeding. As far as traffic counts go, we were given a count from the city counter of 2,000 cars per day, 1,000 in each direction. Back to my mother's point about it being unsafe for driving, there is concern about the infringement of the right-of-way request on Greenville Highway. And there's also been numerous concerns about flooding, specifically. Okay, so I don't know if you remember, but we're talking about this blue line stream that's now been designated since the last time we were here as a blue line stream. Super excited about this. So we've got stream buffer protections now legally, but that stream connects to a culvert, and that culvert right under Chadwick Avenue is the floodplain. It's right there. It's right there on the other side of the culvert. The 500-year floodplain, the 1,000-year floodplain, they've started to fill in the dirt right there, but that is in the floodplain. So this directly impacts the floodplain and those trees coming down, upstream loss of trees. That's a huge amount of mitigation for water that will potentially be lost. The tree board previously deemed this property to be incompatible with this type of development. That's a very important point. Your planning board also twice denied this type of density on this particular spot. This time the planning board's saying it's because stream encroachments, stream buffer encroachments, which would be a 30-foot stream buffer on both sides, no encroachments, no touching it at all, plus your 20-foot transitional zone where you can't put any impervious surfaces. And I believe the developer was talking about putting a parking lot 25 feet away from the buffer, so encroaching upon both the transitional area and the required untouched 30-foot zone. So it's important to make sure that when you're talking about this condition, that includes not encroaching on the 30-foot zone. Let's see. For some reason, I thought I had heard someone say the previous site plan wasn't really even that feasible. So my question is, if it's not feasible, what are the grounds to say that it sets the precedence for what we could choose moving forward? I'm glad to hear you're saying 30 years for affordable to move to market rate. I think that's really important. We applaud the developers' attempts and the city's attempt to bring affordable housing. We understand we're under a time crunch by June. We want to help you find the right property for this, one that's going to be safe for the seniors and for everyone else. Let's see some of the concerns when you cut down those trees. That is going to be an environmental and economic injustice towards the low-income community right there. Those trees create a climate buffer for wind, pollution, sound, light, and noise for our entire community. When a huge storm rustles through, those trees are blocking it from hitting all those trailers and blowing them away. If you look across the street at Chadwick Commons, the last time it flooded a few months back, that project is on stilts for a reason, and the water came up above and under the stilts. The flooding is very real there. I submitted those photographs for your review where it shows that giant lake coming all the way up to Chadwick and Greenville Highway, closing off the city from access to the hospital and for public emergency service workers. And I did hear Mr. Holloway say that they can stage, for emergency services. Can you really stage for 90 seniors, low-income seniors, when it's flooding for an evacuation? Because that's very relevant. They need to be able to get to the hospital. We've put these buildings up that's going to block the sunlight from all the residents that have been there historically. The traffic does back up in both directions. We ask you to please listen to the tens of 40 plus public comments in opposition from the neighbors asking you to not do this over the past 2 years. There is a concern that with the potential $1.7 million budget deficit, it's going to put pressure on the council to approve projects that aren't right for the city. And we want to make sure that, trying to write the budget and all this isn't externalized on the residents, through burden on our infrastructure, through public safety hazards. Moving right along, I'll try to start. Once you remove these trees, they never will grow back the way they are now. The climate's changing. That's never going to happen. We're not going to get that back. I'll definitely not see that in my lifetime. Is there going to be a fee in lieu of? How much is the value of those trees if it's valued at $121,000 per tree over a 50-year time period? Let's see. The neighbors who spoke out in opposition were Jose Serrano, Michael McConey, Patrick Varian, Paula Campbell, Peter Leonard, Richard Mills, Trish Lastilla, Mr. and Mrs. Borgo, Kathleen Cameron, Keith Kovac, Mark Starr. They're especially impacted by 1202 right now. 5 acres of mature forest, 350 trees have been demolished there, and I submitted that photograph for your review too, so you can understand the pressure that our neighborhood is feeling from every direction. And it's on the mental health. Many of the neighbors have said they're going to pack up and leave after being there for 20 or 30 years. Noah Rose, R.F. Saltz, Mr. and Mrs. Lowry, Tom Zimmerman, the Williams family, me, Mr. Fitch, a number of people. Let's see. I think that's pretty much most of, actually, I'm going to make sure. Thank you for your time. I just want to make sure I get everything. So the height was 36 feet. That's not really including the retention wall. I remember Councilwoman Hensley once talking about how she doesn't like retention walls. This is 3 retention walls. So that's something to consider. So it's going to rise above. Also, that line of sight when you're exiting from Greenville Highway from Chadwick Avenue onto Greenville Highway, you go to look left, you're not going to be able to see down Greenville Highway to turn. So the line of sight is blocked clearly. Let's see. We need protection of those green infrastructure and corridors along the stream buffer. The loading and unloading, is it going to be adequate for ambulances and things like this, for delivery, for over 90 potential seniors that live there, 60 units, 30 one-bedroom and 30 two-bedroom. Once again, there's the legally required 30-foot buffer on both sides of the streams, and we ask you to have this developer abide by the laws. The neighborhood character of this area towards Greenville Highway corridor has a rich history along Chadwick Avenue with Brooklyn neighborhood and Brookdale, and the theme there is the streams. So how are we going to protect those streams? We've got foxes, we've got rabbits, we've got bears, we've got hawks, we've got everything up there. And with the floodplain adjacent, the last flood, that sewer system just within a stone's throw away, it released 2,000 gallons of untreated sewage water into our neighborhood, included with the 16,000 gallons of water, untreated sewage, into all of our streams during that flood. We need this remaining patch of nature. Yes, there was a previous development there, but it was very low impact. with 13 trailer structures. And once again, we applaud you for affordable housing. We want to help you find the right spot. Please work with us. Let's do it quickly. Help you get the application you need. Once again, this is not by right. You don't have to just say yes here. You can hear us out. Please, we ask you this time. Once again, Friends of Chadwick Avenue is in opposition of this development. We're open to less density, saving more trees, but right now it doesn't work. It's not about what's currently allowed. It's what's right for the community. And lastly, are we able to show the images that I submitted? Because that was the point of submitting them for the public comment.
They did go to all the council.
Okay,
all the council.
but you're not able to show them are you able to show them on the
Not that I know of.
view? Is that allowed or, so no, okay. So then I just wanted to quickly reference those photos, and that was the image of the flooding, extensive flooding, creating an island on the south side of town where we had to go all the way up to Upward Road, Interstate, 4 Seasons to get to the hospital. Okay, that doesn't work. And then the other 1202 Greenville Highway, 5 acres, 350 mature canopy trees have just been torn down. Please consider that. And I wanted to also resubmit the public comments that were given all along the way that I received upon the public record. I want to put all those into this as well so it goes on record. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to comment? Okay, we'll close that public hearing. Okay, council, discussion?
Is it possible to hear from our emergency services to confirm that the 2 spaces would be adequate as far as bringing in an ambulance or being able to access? I think it might help the public feel a little bit better about the project if we heard directly from the people that would be facilitating those services.
You need to come up here, I'm sorry.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Mayor, Council, thank you. I believe all of our comments were handled through Tyler's DRC meeting, so it met all of our standards that we needed for that.
Okay, thank you.
And just as part of the Appendix D
correct,
of the fire code, the aisle width of 26 feet allows for our setting up of aerial apparatus, ladder trucks, which is a pretty significant, there's some streets in town that aren't quite 26
Absolutely,
feet. I think.
yeah.
So it's pretty significant aisle width that would allow for our largest fire apparatus to get in there. So clearly there would be room for ambulances to pull up at the door and do what they needed to do and respond. So.
And 2 full side-by-side car parking spaces are plenty wide for an ambulance to back into or
Yeah,
pull
that should
into.
be, to be able to get in there and get access to
and
that
get
patient
out.
off. Yeah. that
As
should-
well as all other deliveries, mail, everything.
Other questions, comments?
I have a question about the stream buffer. The pervious pavers, is that already in the proposed, like,
You would have to make it that would be a new council condition.
like change that,
As well as the.
Loading and unloading.
be added in? Okay.
As a council condition, yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Lou, did I say
Who's
something?
getting up?
Just a quick. So the loading zone is a condition to not have to meet that standard, so you just need to say you're striking that condition.
Repeat.
So
Our zoning ordinance requires a loading zone. They've asked for a condition to alleviate that. All you need to do is strike that condition. So just, And then they'll install the loading zone and it'll take care of it.
Opportunity to not put it in. That way they have to.
Anything else?
I will just add, the three of us voted to support a senior affordable housing project across the street from the YMCA. And every time I drive past that development, I actually am happy that we supported something like that for this community. We also voted to send a resolution to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency in support of that project. The three of us voted to do that. And I would be happy if we could do something similar again. I know that it's scored very high, but this is very, very needed for the community. The wait list for senior housing is insane. And so anything that we can do to help, provided you're willing to meet some of these exceptions, I think is wonderful. And I would hope that we could do that. I don't know if that's a separate thing that we would need to do to support, to send another letter like we did last time. But I think that showing the, John and I got to meet the executive director of the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, and I actually asked him if these letters meant anything, and he said they do. You know, they look at them and they read them, and so I think that that's helpful as well to show that
That could
we
be a
support it.
separate
Okay.
issue.
And I think it's important to note, especially with low-income housing tax credit projects, that there's only so many pieces of property left within the city of Hendersonville that are going to qualify. The rules that are around those pieces of property are really stringent, and we just don't have that many. So to be able to have a project in our community that scores the highest that it can possibly score, there may not be another piece of land that's open in the city of Hendersonville that would score that high. So it really limits our chances to get these projects at all, which is why we only ever see, I think maybe I've seen one or two, possibly three at the most. So I think it's important to remember that. I think it's also important to remember that the by right development that's available on this piece of property is more than what this developer is agreeing to do, including all of these conditions to make sure that it's a low-income housing tax credit project. So if we were to deny a project like this, then it's possible you're going to end up with a 70-unit project that doesn't have any right-of-way and is going to cause more of the issues and have more of an impact on all of the things that you all have mentioned. And so I feel way more comfortable with this project than with what could happen whether they come in front of us or not.
You think? All right.
Madam Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move the city council adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of Hendersonville, changing the zoning designation of the subject property pin 9568-92-1924 from GHMU CZD Greenville Highway Mixed Use Conditional Zoning District to GHMU CZD Greenville Highway Mixed Use Conditional Zoning District for the construction of 60 low-income housing credit senior multifamily units based on the master site plan and the list of conditions submitted by and agreed to by the applicant, including the stream buffer pavers to the pervious surface and striking the loading zone requirement of
No, it was the
exemption,
not
excuse
the
me,
requirement.
striking the loading zone exemption. And presented to this meeting and subject to the following. The developer shall be consistent with the site plan, including the list of applicable conditions contained therein and the following permitted uses, which is the residential dwelling multifamily. Also, permitted uses and applicable conditions presented on the site plan shall be amended and included. The petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville 2030 Comprehensive Plan based on the information and the staff analysis. Because the petition aligns with the city's 2030 Comprehensive Plan, because it encourages infill development in an area planned for high-intensity development, as indicated by the priority infill area designation. And because multifamily residential of 8 or more units per acre is a primary recommendation of land use for the high-intensity neighborhood designation. Furthermore, we find this petition to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the following. The petition proposes to provide additional affordable housing to offset large affordable local rental demands. The petition proposes to provide affordable housing on a long vacant and underutilized piece of property near commercial corridors and is within walking distance to downtown. The proposed project would be a reduction in permitted by right intensity for the subject property by going from a 70-unit, 3 to 4 story split market rate multifamily development to a 60-unit, 3-story affordable senior housing multifamily unit. The proposed development is the only LIHTC low-income housing tax credit project going through this tax credit process in the city of Hendersonville this cycle. If the project is approved and receives tax credits, the development would provide senior affordable housing governed by the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency requirements.
Is there any discussion? Not? Those in favor of the rezoning for the lofts at Chadwick, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it, the motion carries, and that has been approved with the conditions noted.
Thank you.
Anyone want to take a break for a couple minutes?
Yeah, need a break?
Okay, yes, we'll stand at ease for
See this water bottle?
about 5 minutes. to order. We still have business to attend to. The next public hearing is a rezoning, a conditional zoning district for Kid City, USA.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. As you've noted, this next application is for Kid City, USA. And a little bit of information about the project here. I'm going to go ahead and click to our map. This project is for the rezoning of two parcels at the corner of 9th Avenue and Orleans. They're currently zoned R15 medium density, and one of the parcels is a existing facility, no longer operating, that was a retirement home. The parcel right on the corner at one point had a single-family residential home on it, but no longer does. The project proposal is to reuse the 11,441 square foot single-story building, which was most recently used for Blue Ridge Retirement Home, and the associated 0.95 acres for a child care center. Our applicant is David Lee. David is here this evening and can answer questions here in a minute. The site plan is required to meet common open space requirements, and I'll go over some of the details of the site plan here in just a minute. These are some photos of the existing site. There are no new buildings proposed. So the image of the structure that you see in these four photos is what will be in place moving forward. They're doing interior renovations, but no exterior additions. The property does border R15 residential on the two adjacent property lines, and you can see those two borders in the top right photo and lower right photo on your screen. In terms of the future land use for the parcels in question, they are designated medium intensity neighborhood on our future land use map. Medium intensity neighborhood is one of our most common future land use designations. It encompasses all of the single-family neighborhoods north of 9th Avenue and east of Orleans. On the opposite side of Orleans Avenue and 9th Avenue West, the Provident designation is urban institutional, and that designation encompasses both Hendersonville Middle School and Hendersonville Elementary School. And it also relates to the institutional uses associated with Pardee Hospital and similar surrounding uses along US 64. The proposed rezoning to planned institutional development is driven by that existing zoning on the elementary, middle school, and associated sports fields just across the street, and similar uses for children in our community. Here is the site plan itself, so you can see the existing building remaining. The primary change to the site will be the addition of a larger parking lot, and the parking lot does extend to where the original single-family house was located on the site. A couple things that I'll point out that are relevant as it relates to some of the conditions. There are a number, you saw them on the photos, there are a number of large existing trees on the site, very notably here and here. And here, I think there's a 48-inch maple and 68-inch oak, or 68-inch oak. They are proposing to preserve those trees along with a number of trees along the northern property line buffer, but they are unable to meet the full requirements of the 1 foot per 1 inch DBH tree protection standard. So to install the parking lot, they will be impacting that area on this tree here. This drive is existing, this tree is existing, and so that area is kind of already impacted, but they are proposing to otherwise protect those to the degree that they can. You'll also see on the site plan the installation of all of the landscaping standards. The eastern boundary of the property includes a driveway to the back of the building, and that, along with the distance from the property line along the northern side of the boundary, prevents the developer from meeting the letter of the law as our ordinance lays it out for the buffer requirement. And so therein you have the three proposed developer conditions. So they are asking to protect the trees to the degree that they can. They are agreeable to the request from the tree board to remove invasive species, particularly English ivy, which exists particularly along that northern property boundary. And then they are also asking for a reduction in the 10-foot width of the planting strip. They plan to plant the required plantings, but will have to do so in a slightly alternative design, which you can see along here. They don't have 10 feet along this edge, and the distance between the property boundary and the building along this edge is just shy of 10 feet. So in those two locations, they're requesting some relief. Yeah, those were the city proposed conditions. So the developer has agreed to these, and these were what came directly from the tree board. So there are, of course, a series of rezoning standards. These are laid out in full in the staff report. I'll go over just a couple of things. In terms of medium intensity neighborhood, the planning board did find the project proposal to be consistent. Medium intensity neighborhood does include local public and institutional uses as a secondary proposed land use. And so this particular use does sort of align with that. In terms of some of the other categories for consideration, the subject property and current structure have previously been used as a commercial use. The proposed project will renovate and use the existing structure without expanding its current floor area, and the surrounding area is largely to the south and west, made up of institutional school uses with a different child care facility operating less than a block away from this proposed location. So we have a lot of child-related facilities in the immediate area. Change conditions, I'll just note that the building has been vacant for longer than 180 days, and so the retirement facility couldn't be restarted under the current zoning without some additional work. And so the reuse of the building requires some sort of process, whether it's a special use permit or coming before you all for a rezoning. Public interest, the critical need for childcare in our community. We've got another item right after this as relates to childcare and childcare facilities in the community. Subject property is currently served by city facilities. And in terms of effect on the natural environment, all of the 12-inch or greater DBH trees that are shown on the site plan currently are being proposed to be retained. There were a number of trees that were moved prior to the project coming through the CZD process, but they were pines, and they have committed to keeping what's there now. So neighborhood compatibility was held on August 30th, 2023. The in-person attendees included 7 residents, 3 staff, and two applicants, 2 folks representing the applicants, and we had 3 residents online. There were a variety of topics discussed, including staffing the center, rates for attending, traffic impacts from additional facilities in the area, and traffic on the surrounding and neighborhood streets. I'll just note that, traffic in that area, if you all have children, you know that it's specifically designed to accommodate school drop-off and pickup. This will be, and David can speak more to this than I can, but it will be a lot of drop-off that will be occurring at the same time that school drop-off would be occurring. It is a full-time childcare facility, so someone working a 9 to 5, might be coming more in the 5 or 6 o'clock hour for pickup. The planning board meeting was held on March 14th, 2024, and the 7 members in attendance voted unanimously to approve this rezoning, and they adopted or recommended the following comprehensive plan consistency statement. And you see that there. It's also in your motion, finding that the project aligned with the city's comprehensive plan goals for medium intensity neighborhood, and recommended the following reasonableness statement with the 3 rationale for approval listed below. We do also have a draft reasonableness statement for denial should you find that you need that, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Anyone have questions? No? All right, thank
And
you.
David is here too.
Yes.
Mr. Lee.
I was going to ask Mr. Lee if he would like to make some remarks, please.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council, people, I guess. I'm happy to be here today, and I really appreciate your time. I just wanted to add a couple of things. One is I've lived here a very long time, so have my parents and grandparents, et cetera, et cetera. I have 5 children, and now, thankfully, I have 5 grandchildren. I watch my children struggle to find childcare or to find childcare that they can reasonably afford. They have found childcare. It's been difficult, and you get on waiting lists. It's not affordable, not for a young family. So I was really excited when we were able to purchase this building and partner with Kid City USA. By the way, they're in business 28 years. They have 140 locations. They're very well respected all around the country. And they're serving from 6 months old to 6 years, basically the preschool, ages. They have a STEM lab in their facilities. They have lots of learning centers. It really is it's not just drop your kids off and let them play in the fenced-in area, and slide down the slide all day. They really do take seriously the opportunity to educate these young minds, and I think that's really important. I was very excited that they were willing to partner with us. We're working very directly with the CEO of the company. She's been on site several times, so has her VP of operations. They're very excited about having the opportunity to do business in Hendersonville. They have locations around North Carolina. I think the closest one now is in Canton. There's one also, oh no, that wouldn't be closer. The one in Brevard would probably be the closest. They've got 2 in Brevard, 1 in Canton, and then another 6 or 7 down towards Charlotte, Lincolnton, et cetera. So a very reputable company. They plan on being here a long time, providing their services. And I really hope that you'll consider approving this project. I think we desperately need it. And there's not a lot of downside impact to anything. We're reusing a building that's been vacant for over 5 years. I've owned it for a year and a half. I've had multiple calls from the police, with people loitering, doing drugs, drinking. They've broken into it multiple times. They stole 11 condensing units, pulled all the copper out of it, all of which is all going to have to be replaced. But it was a place that was an eyesore to the community and the surrounding area. Lou mentioned that we're going to be doing some renovations on the interior. We will also be doing some renovations on the exterior in addition to the parking area that we're adding. We're also adding a larger playground, you noticed on the site plan. We'll be dressing up the outside of the building. The brick will stay brick. It matches the schools across the street, and I think it's very conducive architecturally. But we will be dressing up all the gables. We just put a brand new roof on it, and the inside will be renovated pretty extensively as well to meet the needs of the school. The floor plan for the retirement home, if you think about it, it's very similar to the same floor plan that a school would require. So that's kind of how we came to this conclusion. How could we repurpose this building in an effective, efficient way where it really does add value, and we believe it does. So thank you for your consideration.
Anyone have questions? Mr. Lee?
Lou did bring up the traffic that's in that area. So I drive right by here to take my son to middle school every morning.
Yes, ma'am.
But it looks like from the site plan, it's going to be one way in off of Orleans.
That's correct.
And then they'll have to go out with 9th Avenue.
We're following the same traffic patterns that
I think that's great because otherwise you will definitely have people that try to go out on Orleans and make a right when everybody's trying to come to school because
Yeah, no, there will be no confusion. It'll be one way through our parking area. And our drop-offs, they're going to be open from 7 in the morning till 6 at night. So it'll be aftercare opportunities for, working parents too. I think we did a pretty thorough traffic analysis. I know it was expensive. I assume it was very thorough. And I think the impacts were all within acceptable ranges. If you think about it, we're hopeful and expecting that some of the kids that are going to the elementary and middle schools will also have younger siblings that'll be dropped off, making it ultra convenient for families to do that on their way to work, and then be able to pick them up later and not have to be there by 3 o'clock and in line with everybody. So they've got a really good model. It works really well. They're very experienced, and I think it'll be run at a very high level. Thank you for your question. I appreciate that.
Any other questions?
I just have a comment. I can't think of a better use for that property. My sister was a single mom and had a child at school and couldn't afford childcare. There was no childcare. With the announcement of Tomorrow's Hope also closing.
That's right. I read about that this morning.
We have an expensive wait list already for childcare. I'm happy that you guys are doing this. So
Yeah, we are too.
wish you
We had
best
a
of luck.
epiphany when we looked at the floor plan. My wife and I just said, it's got to be a school. It's got to be some kind of childcare facility or something.
Yeah.
So
I'm also happy to see the hours, the full-time hours. Several daycares in Hendersonville and Henderson County are operating on very limited hours. And it's very hard for a parent to have to pick up a child by 2 or 2:30 in the afternoon and be expected to work. So this really serves a need for the community.
it does. And two of my 5 children work for me, and they both have to leave at 3 o'clock to get the kids. So they won't any longer as soon as we get this.
They'll have no
place open.
excuse.
Yeah. Well, anything else?
Anything else? All right.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
All right, we will open that public hearing. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak? Anyone present who wishes to speak? Is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have one hand raised.
Okay,
Ken Fitch, you are unmuted.
Ken Fish, 1046 Patton Street. The project before you does arrive as an appropriate adaptive reuse of an existing facility structure without major alterations of the site or neighborhood impact. Although one does regret the removal of the buffering row of trees that occurred before the application submittal. One does appreciate the applicant's conceptual plans and accommodation to the site. One must register that there will be some impact to the city and the neighborhood as there will be additional traffic generated and adding to the already intense school traffic pattern that may require some city staff attention when necessary. One must note for the record that this site and its current and previous neighbors and residents included some remarkable, unique, and unforgettable individuals who have contributed to a lively neighborhood history to which Councilmember Roundtree and others can testify. And it is important to note that the historic home that was demolished was an anchoring border property for a surrounding neighborhood that still thrives. And the PID designation should not be a signal for future incursions into the residential neighborhood that extends beyond this project site. But it is the use it is intended will be positive and deserves support. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Fitch. Is there anyone else? Okay, is there anyone present wishes to speak? Okay, we'll close that public hearing. Council?
Madam Mayor, I move the planning board recommend the city council adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the city of
Does that
Hendersonville.
matter?
Did I do something wrong?
Yeah, we're not the planning board.
That's
You
what it
just-
says.
No, don't tell me, no.
I think the motion's wrong. so-
Yeah, is the motion,
You just gotta
I move the city
eliminate.
council
yeah.
adopt.
Yeah, that's right. That's our fault.
Well, why didn't you tell me that when you looked at me a minute ago?
Well, I crossed it out.
Well, I didn't.
You should read you should read Lindsay's version.
I have an idea. Lindsay, do it.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the City of Hendersonville, changing the zoning designation of the subject property PIN 9569-40-2580 and 9569-40-3593 from R15, from R15 medium density residential to PID CZD, Planned Institutional Development Conditional Zoning District, for the rehabilitation and reuse of an existing 11,441 square foot commercial building as a child care center based on the master site plan and list of conditions submitted by and agreed to by the applicant and presented at this meeting and subject to the following. The development shall be consistent with the site plan, including the list of applicable conditions contained therein and the following permitted uses, child care center. The petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville 2030 comprehensive plan based on the information from the staff analysis, and because the petition aligns with the city's 2030 comprehensive plan's goals for the medium intensity neighborhood future land use designation to provide local and public and institutional uses. Furthermore, we find this petition to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from the staff analysis, public hearing, and because the proposed rezoning includes no new construction but enhances existing site parking. The proposed site plan includes compliance with the landscaping standards, existing tree preservation, and enhanced site buffering to adjacent residential uses, and the proposed use meets a community need for additional childcare options for working parents.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the conditional zoning district for Kid City USA, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and look forward to you going ahead with that. Right. Okay, now we have a zoning text amendment, updates to child care home and child care center.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Speaking of childcare, we have a zoning text amendment that has been initiated by city staff that essentially just aligns the zoning ordinance definition for childcare homes and childcare centers with state statute. The definition is found in the state statute. Our definition with the proposed changes and the key details highlighted is shown on the screen. For childcare homes, we're going from a max of 6 children to a max of 10. That aligns with the state statute. And this was part of a revision to General Statute 110-86-3B, which increased the maximum number of children a childcare home operator could have from 9 children to 10 children. And that standard is, quote, a family childcare home is a childcare arrangement located in a residence where at any one time more than 2 children but less than 10 children receive childcare, provided the arrangement is in accordance with General Statute 110-91-7B. That statute outlines kind of a formula of makeup for how you can reach that maximum number of children, and it's based on the age makeup of the children that are being served. And so I'm not going to go into detail about all the formulas that are used to come up with that, or the ages. And then I'll just also mention that while we were at this, we also took the opportunity to align our definition of child care center with the state's definition for child care center as well. This was not in the zoning text amendment priority list that was brought to y'all maybe a year ago. This one was brought to our attention. It is pretty straightforward, and so we've acted on it. It also did not go to the legislative committee just because it is relatively simple and straightforward. There are 6 criteria that are considered when evaluating a zoning text amendment. The first is comprehensive plan consistency. The future land use map has a wide range of designations, future land use designations. Within each of those, or nearly each of those, public and institutional uses is listed as a primary or secondary recommended land use. So this aligns with our future land use map. It also aligns with a couple of strategies to minimize negative impacts from growth and land use changes on existing land uses, and to update the zoning code to ensure conformance with the comprehensive plan. No other chapters of the comprehensive plan had any relevant strategies or goals. The second criteria is compatibility. This is compatible with our current zoning. Childcare homes are permitted in all residential and mixed-use zoning districts, and childcare centers are permitted in all non-residential and mixed-use zoning districts. In terms of change condition, this was brought up under the previous item. There's a shortage of childcare, and the proposed amendment would help to address the demand. For public interest, it addresses the childcare shortage, and it aligns our local regulations with state standards. The amendment does not have any direct impact on public facilities or the natural environment. The Planning Board supported this last month, 7-0, recommending approval. They put forth this consistency statement shown on the screen, and they supported it with these 2 points of rationale for approval. And then we also have a draft rationale for denial for your consideration, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions?
Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the ratio, state ratio for daycares and?
I'm sorry, for?
The state ratio, like is it 5 to 1?
Yeah, so for a childcare home at a residence, you can have a maximum of 8 children with no more than 5 children who are 0 to 5, and then you can have 3 school-age children for a total of 8, or you can have a maximum of 3 children from 0 to 24 months, and 3 children that are 2 to 5 years old, and 3 school-age children up to 13 years of age, for a total of 9, or a maximum of 10 children if they're all older than 24 months old. So that's the kind of little formula they use to dictate the maximum number. And I'll add that childcare homes and childcare centers are all regulated by the state. From a zoning standpoint, we're just, if they meet our definition, then they're going to be permitted within one of the zoning districts that we allow that in. Whether it's residential or more of a commercial or mixed-use zoning district. The rest of the regulating, we are going to leave that to the state to enforce their regulations. We're not going to get involved with that.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
We will open that public hearing. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this zoning text amendment? Is there anyone online wishing to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Last chance, anyone here? All right, we'll close that public hearing. Council, discussion or a motion?
Maybe I'll try again. I read over it just in case. All right, I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official City of Hendersonville. Wait a minute, is this the right one? No. Yeah, it is. Section 12-2-2 Child Care Home and Section 12-2-2 Child Care Center based on the following. The petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville 2030 Comprehensive Plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the petition aligns with the Comprehensive Plan Strategy LU-3.5, minimizing negative impacts from growth and land use changes on existing land uses by reflecting current and ongoing trends in the community concerning the need for more child care within the city. We, City Council, find this petition in conjunction with the recommendations presented by staff to be reasonable and in the public interest based on the information from the staff analysis and public hearing, and because Number one, the proposed text amendment aligns with the state licensing requirements for child home care and child care centers. The proposed text amendment allows existing and future child care facilities to increase their child home care capacity and thereby increasing the child care opportunities within the city.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the zoning text amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, motion passes, and that change is in effect. Last public hearing, an annexation. The enclave on West Park Avenue.
This does not have anything to do with childcare. Before us this evening is an annexation from the Aurco folks. They have a 5-lot subdivision off of Greenville Highway, just south of the Irkwood and Shepherd Street intersection with Greenville Highway. It consists of 1.62 acres. A couple of things to consider with this one is we started off looking at this one using a formula that's been developed and researched by our assistant city manager, which evaluates the cost of service impact for an annexation. If we're bringing a new property into the city and we have to service it, what type of tax revenue are we generating, and what is it going to cost us to service that? In this case, this property came out as having a slightly above average cost of service per acre value. So keep that in mind. And then a next point is that it was approved under the county's development standards. And so subdivision approval, site plan approval occurred under the county standards, not the city standards. The intent, as I understand it, was that it was going to be, it was going to have septic systems. That was the developer's intent. And so he went that route with the, working with the county. Part of the approval process when it was granted was that it was going to be required to connect to sewer. And so as such, we require to connect to our sewer system that petition for annexation occur. And so that is the process that we're following now. The implications of that are that the development will have a private street. It was not approved under our standards, which would require a public street. This will have a private street. And so when you think about the implications of a private street that may need to be considered if you're considering this annexation, is that typically, folks are used to rolling their trash cans to the street, to a city right-of-way. In this case, that city right-of-way would be Greenville Highway. So are folks going to roll their trash cans for us to come down Greenville Highway and service those and pick those up along Greenville Highway? That seems like that would be have some issues tied to it. Conversely, do we access the private street with our trash trucks and recycling trucks to service each home? Then we have, potential issues with wear and tear on a private street that's not built to city standards. And over time, that could present issues as well. And so those are a couple examples of reasons why it would be problematic to have, or, in some cases, these exist already where a property is brought in that hasn't been developed to city standards. It complicates the provision of the city's services. And so that's something to consider. It was not the intent of the developer to, I'm going to get approval under this standard, and then I'm going to sneak my way into getting the services, the benefits of the services of the city. It was just the way that this one transpired in a unique fashion. But that's certainly something we would not want to encourage because then you have some discrepancies that get presented. And so I wanted to walk through all that. I've got a motion for approval, a motion for denial, and I'll attempt to answer any questions you may have. We've got the annexation plat for you to review as well.
And thanks, Matt, for the explanation. And I think just to be clear for the council, from the city manager's perspective, it is our recommendation that we do not annex the property and ultimately, but provide access, allow the owner to have access to city sewer. They would be an outside sewer customers. We do have other outside sewer customers in this area and others, so we would recommend, at least from my perspective, that it's not cost effective for us to service it and annex it, but they would have access to city sewer. So just want to be clear about that.
Okay. Would the developer like to make any comments?
I'm sorry. Yeah, if you want to make comments.
Not a comment.
Okay.
Ms. Mayor and everybody, I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time. Our biggest thing is we just want to be able to provide the sewer, and we already have water at the road. We have high-speed internet. It's going to be its own private little community in there. It's going to have an 8-foot fence around it, trees all put in, trees in the front, support set back. And that's the only thing that we were asking for is we're going to pay full cost to tie the sewer all the way down the road, all the repairs and everything else. That's the only thing that we're really asking for is to be able to access the sewer. And it's pretty much a straight shot down to the circle. That's pretty much it. Have any questions?
Any questions?
So as long as you've got sewer, you're good. You don't have to be in the city.
No, on my roads, we've done this before, but
yeah,
we don't do private road. I mean, I build to DOT standards for my roads. So if you guys said we had to drive trucks in there, granted, they're not as wide,
yeah,
but we do make it so the radius is right, and we do 4 inches of heavy-duty asphalt, and we actually do 24 inches of structural gravel.
So let me get this back. So we are committed that they can have sewer.
Sewer is available at this, he will have to extend the sewer line.
Yeah, I'd say he said he
Straight down,
would,
we got
but he has access. So I just
740 feet straight shot.
So his engineer will have to design it, and we have the capacity to receive it. His engineer will have to design it to our standards. Our folks will have to prove it. I don't think we've done that yet. So, but
we can't submit anything.
Until there's a decision here.
Right.
So you just need to.
I have it all, but I just can't submit it.
All right, good deal. We're good then. I just wanted to put it on the record. You can get it. We said it, and we're good. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Madam Clerk, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it has.
We will open this public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to comment on this annexation? Is there anyone online wishing to comment?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Anyone? Okay, we'll close that public hearing. Council?
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council deny the petition received from Eric Alsler, Nicole Alsler, and the Ourco Construction Company, LLC, requesting the annexation of the property having pins 9577-27-2609, 9577-27-0679, 9577-17-9673, 9577-27-0588, 9577-27-2529.
Okay. What do you need there? All right, thank you. Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of denying the annexation, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. And the motion for denial passes. Okay. All right. We have 2 items of unfinished business. Well, 3. Third one was added. First is water and sewer development fees. Who's going to? There you are. Mr. Sturr.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor and members of City Council. Adam Sturr, Utilities Director. Unfinished business from the March 7th meeting on water and sewer system development fees. Another quick recap. So these fees are only assessed to new development for the addition or their demand on water and sewer capacity to the systems. System development fees recover the costs necessary for expansion and the additional capacity with the mindset is the growth pays for growth. The lack of system development fees places the full cost of infrastructure capacity on the existing ratepayers. And system development fees should be viewed as a mechanism to ensure that equitable distribution of cost responsibilities between existing and future utility customers are maintained. So throughout the past almost 2 years now, we've undergone a study required by the general statutes to calculate these fees. Here's an example of the recommended fees by the consultant. For residential, again, it's based on the housing square footage. There's also a flat fee per multifamily unit and a flat fee for a mobile home per unit. On the non-residential side, the fee is scaled by the water meter size. The bigger water meters can use more water and sewer versus the smaller water meters. So we have many projects across our utility service area that are in various stages of the development process. So as the council, there's a few options for implementation of these fees if they were to be adopted. The first is to adopt with an effective date of today, April 4th, 2024. Another option could be to adopt with a delayed effective date, for example, July 1st or a later date of your choosing, to allow new development projects that are nearing completion reasonable amount of time to apply for their utility service, apply for their water meters, pay their water meter fee or their tap fee, and apply for their building permits. So they have to do all three of those things ahead of the effective date or to not pay a system development fee. A third option could be to implement the system development fees in phase percentages. So the fees that were showed earlier, that is the 100%. So that is the maximum fee that can be charged for those types of connections. So the council may, if it chooses, to charge some percentage of those maximum fees. And that's just a recap. And with that, I will open it up to any questions that the council may have.
Any questions?
If we were to do a phased approach, do you have phasing in that you would recommend?
I have some options of what those fees would look like on the percentages, and I can share those here. So these are the fees. There's 100%, 75%, 50%, 25%. Again, you could do 33% or 66%, but here's just an overview of what those fees look like. Sorry, there's a lot of numbers on these fees.
This looks like Lou made it.
Yeah. But I mean, so let's just look at
Much easier to understand.
we can look at an average home. Maybe it's in the 1,500 to 2,000 square foot range. So water and sewer system development fee for that home combined would pay about $3,600 at 100%. If it was 75%, it would be about $2,700. 50%, about $1,800, and at 25%. Looks like about $900. So that's probably an average size home. So you can see the fees. There are revenue impacts to adjust some of these fees. I've got two scenarios, a projected annual revenue. So this is based on a current listing of projects that we have in the development process. So assuming that 50% of those actually go to construction and are completed and connect to the system, we would realize about $2,800 or $2.8 million in water and wastewater system development fee revenue at 100%. If that's scaled down to 25% of the maximum fee, that may be about $700,000. A more conservative approach, assuming that 20% of those projects go to construction, we may see $1.1 million in revenue annually at 100%, and it could go down to about a little less than $300,000 a year in system development fee revenue. So I will mention that these studies are, they're good for 5 years. So ours was completed the end of October in 2023. So we would be required to update that study after 5 years. It could be updated sooner, but the phasing plan, those numbers from that study are good for 5 years, essentially. I do have some peer utility groups. This assumes 100% of the fee. So if it's, we kind of stand in the middle or lower on the water side, less expensive than our neighbors to the north, City of Asheville, for their development fee. I think the 25% would set us, about $600. So it would be well under the average for water. On wastewater, again, we're in around the average, and 25% of that would put us well below the average fee for our peer utility groups.
And the fees themselves are reassessed at the same frequency, which is every 5 years? Or those are just fixed, they never change?
So the fees are, the dollar amount of the fee is calculated from the cost our cost to provide capacity. So typically those fees, you can change them. Most typically it's annually at the annual budget, but they can be changed any time the council chooses.
Do the study every 5 years.
That's correct.
The council has your discretion during every budget review, and looking at the fee schedule, you can adjust on an annual basis, or really, I think even sooner than that is it, but,
Yeah.
Sorry. If you're getting a 5-year projection roughly of what your capital expenses are going to be.
Sure. And yeah, and that's a big part of the calculation. The planning period is 5 to 20 years. So we put in our 10+ year CIP. So we're using that 10 to 20 year planning period on calculating these numbers. So that's where they come from. I will note that MSD of Buncombe County, you can see their current fee for a 2,100 square foot residential house is almost $3,600. They recently completed their fee this spring. The findings were almost $7,000 for a system development fee for that size home. So they've elected currently to implement that fee in increments over the next 5 years. So 5 years from now, their current plan is to be close to $7,000 per unit or per residential unit.
Do you have any examples of if you did it the first year at 25% of that, and then the next year at 50, and the next year?
As far as revenue projections, or?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to project revenue. You could use this if you assume that the current level of development continues at the current rate, you could use that 50% of completion, and then that would be your estimated annual revenue per year. So for example, if the council elects to go 50% for the next year, we would estimate a total $1.4 million in revenue for that first year. If development stays the same and it bumps up to 75% the following year, maybe it bumps up a little over $2 million. As you well know, development ebbs and flows and is heavily dependent on the economy. And these are very difficult numbers to project, which is why there's such a large range. But as development grows and if it ramps up, that's also quickly decreasing water and sewer capacity in the systems, which increases the need or speeds up the need for these critical capacity projects.
And the argument in the STFs is it puts some of the burden, hopefully a good bit of the burden of the capital improvements on the new developments paying up front, as opposed to the burden being put on the folks that are already in the system.
That's correct.
It controls the cost of water and sewer delivery to the folks that are already in it.
This is a weird philosophical battle, really, because I don't like
It is.
because I feel like it's a utility and the ratepayers drive the need for the utility and then the ratepayers pay for the utility. But I also feel like we would be an outlier of people who are not charging them. And so then that makes me feel like, well, why are we not doing it? What would be the difference? And, so I'm going to support doing it. I would like to see a phased approach because I don't want to get several of the developments that I know are in the pipeline that have construction loans and planning and all of those things. I don't want them to be caught up in this. But I discussed setting aside, I don't know how this would work, a percentage of, I know we can't use system development fees to offset affordable housing projects, but I do not want to see them impacted specifically from system development fees. And so is there a way that we can offset that cost for affordable housing projects? There is.
No, well, sorry. So I hate to interrupt you. So
Yes, man, John.
I'm not going to be a yes man yet. I spoke with City Attorney Beaker earlier today. We would like to, if we know that is a priority, or we feel like that may be a priority of council, we would like to do the legal research and bring back a couple of options for you to make sure that we're on good legal standing to do that, but realize that it's a priority of the council. So.
I mean, I feel like we have to do these, otherwise we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And later us is gonna be very mad if we didn't do it. I am in favor of a phased approach. I don't know if I want it to be over 5 years. I think that's too long. In order for us to get to the revenue that we need it to provide, especially with the amount of development that's coming in here. Because I feel like even if it ebbs somewhere else, I don't know if it's gonna ebb here. So, I mean, ideally, I would like to see it, I mean, maybe we could do it over 2 years. Every 6 months, it goes up 25%.
Or you could set the rate this year and then evaluate where you are, look at development, I mean, I know you'd like to have a plan, and I mean, it may be some certainty for you and I think from the utility department in budgeting. But you do have the option to just set it for 1 year and then reevaluate it every budget cycle. But if you want to go ahead and stake yourself out, I mean, I think you can do that today and still reevaluate it in a year. So I think you've got that option to phase it in.
What if we delayed the effective date until December 1st? And then we do 50% the first year and 50% the second year. Well, 50% then the rest the second year. So it's a 2-year phased approach, but we are giving a decent grace period for developments that are actually in the pipeline. That gives them 8 months.
So make sure I understand. If you delayed implementation to January 1st of 25 at the 50% level, it goes for 6 months because I'm thinking fiscal year. It goes for 6 months at that level. There'll be no charge until January 1st. At that point, from January 1st to June 30th, you're paying 50% of the charges. So really, they're getting almost a year at 50% or less. I mean, and then on July 1st, it would go 100% active.
I think she was thinking in calendar years.
I'm thinking calendar years.
What if July 1st is not that far from now. What if we do it July 1st, but it's 25%, and then you go 6 months and it's 50%, and 6 months and it's 75%? Or you want it to be less math?
Well, I think less math is better, but I also think that July 1st with an effective date is way too soon. Especially for developers. Like, I just think I think it's too soon. Okay, so what if December 1st
if you put it in effect July 1st, but you weren't, how did you say, you said it wasn't going to be charged at all for just, you're thinking just till July?
No, he was saying January.
January 1st.
January, but you're including, you're saying from here to that would be,
Nothing.
at that point, it would have to start on the next 6 months piece.
Well, I was just trying to get it on a, from a budgetary
Put it on a
standpoint.
calendar.
Well, no, keep it on a fiscal year is what I was trying to. I mean, you could set the first year. I mean, without too much problem, you could say. I mean, you could.
So then do it January 1st, you would be 25%, and then the next fiscal cycle would start 50, and then the next fiscal cycle would actually be 100, but it's basically a 2.5-year phase approach. So then it's actually on budget cycle.
So you would be January 1st, 25%.
Yep.
June 30th,
50.
50%, and then July, and then July to such July of 25, and then July of 26.
We would be 100%.
It'd be 100%.
Yeah. So that's like 2.5 years, essentially, with like a 7-month grace period of implementation.
So anybody that's already there, and remember they, as of January 1, then they start getting new building permits and all that. Anybody, then they pay the 25% value, and then after 6 months it goes to 50%, and then a year later it's 100%.
I can get behind that. What does the illustrious Adam Stewart think about that?
It's a more difficult implementation for staff with percentages. I think, and one thing you're doing, when you're doing a reduced percentage, you're saying that based on when they connect, they're only going to pay, $2 per gallon per day, versus if they connect in 3 years, well, they're going to have to pay $4 or $5 for their gallon per day. It's the same gallon per day. It's just based on their connection time. And I would remind the council that we began this process in September of 2022 and had numerous public hearings and meetings throughout last year. So it is not a surprise to development in the community. And they are accustomed to paying these fees elsewhere in the system.
Well, we either do a phased approach or I don't support it. So,
And I'm going along with that.
yeah.
I mean, I can get behind what we came up with. Because I'm definitely not going to get behind not doing it.
This is a policy decision by the city council, and we will implement based on your direction, and that's why you are here.
All right.
What do you think, Madam?
I would rather we not extend it that long before it kicks in. But it seems that the others, the majority feels we do it that way, so.
It's a hard one for me to swallow, period, because there was no secret how much I disliked them. I mean, I'm not playing. And I don't want to ever see them. I don't want to mishandled again. And an example is if a business has a 2-inch water line meter in it, and they close that business and move it across the street, that they have to, if they've paid a system development fee, they shouldn't have to pay it again across the street when they're putting the same business over there. And that's one of those cases that really got me fired up twice. So just would need good eyes on everything to make sure that we're doing what is fair. But I do understand the need for this, and I do feel much more comfortable. Certainly not making it where it kind of claws back at somebody that's already gone through the process. Because you may think everybody's used to it, but my phone's blowing up sitting right here. And it's not telling me, great job, Jeff. So, that's, That's just where it is.
Yeah, I think it's, it's y'all, a lot of great work by staff, a lot of great thought by city council, and it's a philosophical, and I think from the bottom line from a staff perspective is we feel like we need system development fees. This sounds like a reasonable approach to get it implemented. With the policy, you are responding to there are constituents out there. Staff has made, overall recommendations. So, and we will proceed according to that, unless there's any ordinance changes we need, Madam.
I would like to be able to now draft the ordinance accordingly and just put it back on your consent for your next meeting so that we can look at any little tweaks we might need to make based on that. If that's okay, since it's not going to be effective till January 1 anyway. If that's okay with City Council.
Okay. Yeah.
So if that being the case, we would not need a motion tonight.
No.
We would just.
No motion? Okay.
We would just take that as direction and
And
consensus.
put it back on consent agenda for next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you for all the work that went into it. We appreciate that. Okay, now we have a zoning text amendment, tree canopy preservation and enhancement. 2 years.
So, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. This is also an extension of the discussion that happened at our March meeting. And I am just going to highlight the points that were still being discussed. I do have one illustrative element that hopefully will be well received. Just real quickly, project background recapping, this is a city-initiated zoning text amendment to establish tree canopy preservation standards for new residential and commercial development. It also establishes new planting requirements for common open space and open space requirements, street tree requirements, native planting requirements, and enhances vehicular use area planting requirements, and does make some changes to submittal requirements and administrative duties related to our planting and landscaping requirements. So from the meeting in March, there were three sort of primary points of discussion that were still sort of being worked through. The first that I'll highlight is the exemption standard. And what we are proposing here this evening is that the exemption standard exists between two primary choices. Option one would be to exempt parcels and project sites which are less than 1 acre in size. And option two would be to exempt parcels and project sites which are less than 2 acres in size. And for background, in terms of the city of Hendersonville and the ETJ, we have approximately 11,235 total parcels in the city, exempting the less than 1 acre in size would exempt a total of 9,625 parcels, or approximately 86% of the parcels, which is to say that about 14% of the parcels are greater than 1 acre in size. If you were to choose option two, that would exempt 10,388 of the 11,000 plus, which is approximately 93% of the parcels in the city, or said another way, 847 total parcels would be subject to the preservation standard. So sort of at a high level, there's a policy decision about choosing between exempting less than 1 acre or exempting less than 2 acres. As we talked last month, we do have two administrative exemptions that we're suggesting. So in this is just the flowchart decision tree. So you have option one, we're going to exempt less than 1 acre parcels, or option two, exempt less than 2 acre parcels. If you have a parcel that is, the question is it less than 2 acres? Yes, it's exempt. No. Then it goes to an administrative review process. Is it less than an acre of disturbance? Yes, it's exempt. No. Is it less than or equal to 30,000 square feet of canopy? Again, if it is in fact less than that, then it's exempt. If no, then the canopy preservation is required. So you start with the either less than 1 acre or less than 2 acre. There's administrative review that follows that to determine whether or not the project is disturbing more than an acre or has the canopy threshold that we want. And when those two things are all found to be the case, then canopy preservation would kick in. So the second point of discussion is the tree board role in the process, leaving the tree board in the current role that they are in reviewing site plans associated with conditional zoning districts and recommending conditions prior to the planning board or removing them from that process. And then the third point that we discussed at the last meeting was the fee in lieu, implementing the ordinance with the fee in lieu schedule as presented, or delaying implementation to allow for additional discussion and recommendations. I have the planning board consistency statement and all of that information. I do also have the presentations from last month if there is anything that we need to return to, but I'm not going to go through those a second time. So I'm available for questions, and that's all I have.
Okay. Comments, suggestions?
Lou, yeah, sit tight there a minute. I don't know if you want to take the decision points one by one and then make one final.
Yes, let's do that.
So maybe if we could pull the presentation back up and go back to Lou's decision points.
Comments?
I would like to see us do option 1, less than 1 acre in size. That's the staff recommendation. It makes it administratively easier and it captures more parcels.
Option 1.
Yeah, it seems to me if we went with option 2, it's hardly worth doing it. There's so few parcels
I know.
that would not be exempt.
That could be argued either way. I think it's 4.5% difference between option 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Right. So I'm hearing option 1 because so, all right, let's advance the slide maybe. There we go.
I'm with option 2, leaving the tree board in its role currently established. Reviewing site plans and recommendation conditions prior to the planning board.
what is your reasoning behind that?
Because Matt Brackett, which was our chairperson, he worked so hard to get that established in 15 years. I mean, why now?
Get the tree board established? Is that what you're
No,
saying?
no.
To get what established?
The reviews and the revisions of the tree board.
You guys built a lot of that into this, did you not? What we're doing is we want something that's, an ordinance that people know they have to do. As I understand, and I think it's still the same, the tree board makes recommendations, as does the planning board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're wanting to actually put some teeth in something that says what you have to do. I know nobody's happy on either side about this, which sometimes is a good indicator of you've done the best you can. I would like to know too, this can be amended as it goes along. I know there's been questions about habitat, and I think that's a good question about some of the just the plantings on the ground is not necessarily just the trees that are important. And for me, one thing I would really like to say, and I'll give Susan credit for this, is when she was here, we need somebody going in and making sure these darn trees that they're planting actually grow. And I would like to really have someone that is assigned to that to really follow it up if we go with this, because, or even if we don't. Just because you go put a tree in doesn't mean it's gonna be around.
Yeah.
So I don't want to try to put that in this. But I would like to make a statement just straight up that should be something that we need to get done and defined to back this up in any, whether we do it or we don't. We're still telling people plant trees.
Yeah. So for me, throughout this whole process, it was streamlining it in a way that developers, when they come in, understand what we are asking them to do, and it is clear the rules with which they need to play within. And so I don't feel the need to keep the tree board as a part of a conditional zoning district review process, because of the fact that I feel like this ordinance now has some teeth into it. And there is still flexibility for developers, yet there are still guardrails that we have put on it, and they know exactly what they're going into. With that being said, I do think that the education and the tree board provides to developers is invaluable, because it is things that maybe they haven't thought of or they haven't seen before, or anything like that. But the tree board members do change. And so we may not always have an arborist on there or people that have 15 years of experience. And so I think it would be great for the tree board to spend its time working on some educational materials for developers that we can share with our community development staff. So when they come in and they're discussing this ordinance with them, they can say, oh, our tree board's put this together for you. Here's some ideas you may not have thought of. It'd be really great if, you can incorporate some of these into your design. Because what I don't want to do anymore is sit in in our meetings and discuss the DBH of a tree for an hour. I think it's important that we're preserving the tree canopy. I think this is a step in the right direction. It is not the only step that we are going to take. There are so many other things and levers that we can pull regarding sustainability. We have our sustainability plan that's going in place. And like, Councilmember Miller said, it's possible for us to amend this as we move along. We have our comp plan that's going through, and once we get through with that process, then maybe we'll be able to see some other things that we can do with landscaping standards. Nothing is written in stone, and so I think that's important to remember, and that this is just the first piece in a long game of chess that we're playing with sustainability.
I agree with Lindsay.
Yeah, I do too. To have some idea when you're going in what the requirements are, not just leaving it to, well, we think this is what it is, but we hope the tree board approves or not. I'd rather for developers to know ahead of time what they're going to be required to do, and then hold them to it.
Okay, I think we have understanding there. And then the final item as it relates to payment in lieu of. And before we talk about that, Madam Attorney, you want to talk about the legal foundation as it relates to how we must establish the payment in lieu of, as far as
Sure.
How it is to be defensible and.
Sure. It is basically an impact fee. Impact fees are based on, an impact, and then the cost to replace what was removed, if in this case, or if, for instance, let's say a development was going to require an intersection improvement, right? They would have to pay the cost of that intersection improvement. They wouldn't have to pay the economic benefit to the city for making that, right? So it's based on cost. So the impact fee that has been derived the standard is rough proportionality. I would say it's definitely roughly proportional to the cost that it would be for the city to in today's dollars, replace the tree. That's something that can be looked at every year as costs go up. On your agenda, on the consent agenda, was an item whereby we're getting $50,000 to plant 140 trees. And if you divide that out, it came out to $357 a tree, which is what the developer told us his cost would be. Our Public Works Department is telling us $350. So there's a $7 difference. So I'd say that's pretty close for now.
So,
And I'd say that's definitely defensible.
so, I mean, I know, some of our folks on the tree board and other members of the community, the values of the impact of a tree. I understand how they may put that value on a tree, but as it relates to legal foundation and legal authority, we have to base this impact fee, as I understand.
It's a fee in lieu, but right,
Yeah.
it's based on the cost to replace.
For the city to replace the
the
tree.
tree.
Yes.
Right. Mhm.
So I think in this particular case, I'm not going out of bounds by saying the city staff would recommend that you implement the fee in lieu that was presented by staff at your March meeting. That is your strongest legal foundation position to do that. So it's not challenged. Or it could be challenged, but it's defensible. So.
Right. And I don't disagree with the impact that a tree has. I'm not saying that a tree is only worth $350 or, but, and personally, would I like to see a fee in lieu be more? Sure, because I would want it, I don't want you to take the fee in lieu option. I want you to plant the trees and save the trees. But we have to work within our own guardrails that we have. And so I would say we approve the fee in lieu as it is. It will be amended every year. So as the cost of planting trees goes up, it will go up as well.
And let me ask this, Lou, the way we do the sidewalks, understanding, the city's core values and the position of the city council. I mean, the administrative review comes to me, you or me, or to the city manager.
It ends on your desk.
It ends on my desk, and I will tell you how we do sidewalks. If we have a developer that comes to us to ask for fee in lieu of sidewalks, we evaluate the other plans that city have. We look at the master sidewalk pedestrian plan. We look at the overall potential development.
I'm going to interrupt you because that's not exactly what the ordinance says in the draft.
Okay.
It says that it's a by right thing that the community development director can approve.
Okay.
I didn't want to. I'm sorry.
No, that's
just
why.
wanna say what's in the ordinance.
So Lou would then
Lou
as
Lou
the authority,
and it's a by right thing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Lou would make the decision whether
If they can.
Okay.
It's not really a decision.
Not a decision. So that's what. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So they can either choose to pay. All right.
That's right.
For the
I
clarity.
just don't want to mislead anybody
Well,
into
I-
thinking,
that's why I
it's a, sorry.
No.
Well, and I do think that this opens up discussion as well about trees are part of our sustainability in our community. And it's that entire discussion, I feel like, is very, very congruent with each other. And so I would like to also continue having these discussions as well, because again, like what we're discussing right now just further cements that these are like so intertwined, and the value of a tree to our community as far as, climate and beautification and green space, those are all part of sustainability.
And I did like Mr. Pettis's point of getting a survey of all of the city-owned trees. I know we did the tree canopy assessment, but I don't think we did individual trees. I think that would be helpful. And I think it would be great to have this fee in lieu go towards either expanding like the Neighborhoods program or the goal of having 50% tree canopy on city property. Like that gives us the funds to be able to achieve that goal.
Yep.
And again, I'll reiterate, the ordinance is not perfect for anyone on either side. but it's not written in stone. And to me, it's a win because it's a step in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Made our three.
Madam Mayor, I have a revised ordinance.
Okay.
The blanks filled in to hand out. It's highlighted in yellow,
Okay.
the exemptions. I've been sitting here filling in, filling the blanks while y'all been talking. But anyway, just to make the motion easier, you can just say as amended at the meeting tonight.
So where would that go in here?
If you look on page 3 first, it just sets it up unless exempted pursuant to section 15(4)(C10) below. And then if you flip over 2 pages in yellow, I didn't realize it was less than or equal to, so I penciled that in, but the development sites will be exempted if they have less than or equal to 30,000 square feet of existing tree canopy, less than 1 acre of the site will be disturbed, or less than, the site is less than 1 acre in area. And the provision regarding the tree board was already stricken in what was already presented to you. So if you want to make a motion.
Where in this motion would we say as amended? Oh, perfect. Excellent. Are we ready?
Yes.
Awesome.
Ready? Okay.
I move city council
Lou,
adopt.
can let me ask a
Whoa,
question.
pump the brakes.
Excuse me, I want to ask one question, Lou. Go back to your decision. Allison, can you pull that back out a minute? Thank you.
That's my fault.
Go to the decision tree on, so Lou, if you've got an acre lot.
Yes.
I want to make sure I understand this, a question that was asked. If you have a 1 acre lot so it's 1 acre. Okay, it's 1 acre. So that's the first step.
If it's 1 acre, you go over to administrative review.
You go to administrative review, and then so that's the next piece. You go to administrative review, and then the next piece you look at, are you going to disturb, basically if you have a 1 acre lot, you're going to disturb 100% of that 1 acre. If the answer is no, then the next piece would, are you going to, you got 30,000 or more square feet.
Right.
That's right. But if the answer is you're going to disturb 100% of the acre, then you would go yes. If you go yes, then you would. Oh, yeah.
We're disturbing less than an acre.
Yeah.
So you're exempt.
You're exempt. Okay. So, but if you are disturbing 100% of it, then you go to the next piece. Does it have 30,000 or more? If the answer is no,
then you're, that's backwards.
So the question is the canopy on the site less than or equal to 30,000 square feet? No.
you got to.
Then that means it's greater than.
Yeah.
Mhm.
More than that.
Okay.
You are required to preserve.
Right.
Okay.
Go back
If
at
you
what,
have
yeah.
Less than or equal to 30,000 square feet of canopy, yes. I have less than that, you're exempt.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So there's 3 steps that you have to approve. So it's not.
Sorry.
Yeah, and you
It's
don't
not
have to do it in that order. If any one of those 3 things is true, you're exempt, is the simple
Is
way.
the simplest way. There's several. So the situation of not meeting all those is going to be almost very rare based on.
So it will trigger, and it aligns with our administrative approach, basically. So the disturbance area triggers other site, like you have to submit a site plan, you have to show us where your erosion control fencing is, you have to show us where the tree protection is when you hit that level.
Okay, and so.
Sorry?
The question is, yeah, I mean, in our subdivision ordinance, yes, you can subdivide a 1 acre lot. And if you do that, then I mean, that's, you
Sorry.
could do that ahead of time, and that's, so the true question is there a 1 acre lot out there that, based on the tree preservation, would we, make it useless? And I don't think there's we can't answer that question, but there's also the Board of Adjustment. Ultimately they could.
Is the question, so is somebody going to be able to subdivide and get around it? Is that the question?
No, if there's an acre lot out there and that any of this is totally. Sorry, if there's a 1 acre lot out there and with all this, if they want to subdivide it or whatever, is there anything in this that would make it where they could not develop that 1 acre lot and they're paying property taxes on it already?
No.
They can subdivide it. The way this is judged is on the development site. And so that subdivision would be the development site. So they may have to comply with this depending on how much tree canopy there is, but they could still subdivide it.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
That was a good chart, Lou.
Good.
I liked that one.
Who helped you?
See, I learned. It's like the shock collar, you know?
Anything else?
Can I go back to this now?
Ready? You've got the
As
edited version?
amended.
I got it. It's written right here.
Okay.
Okay. I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official City of Hendersonville zoning ordinance, Article 7, Sections 7-3-3 and 7-3-4, and Article 15, Sections 15-4, 15-5, 15-6, 15-9, and 15-9, and to add the new section 15-14 and 15-15 to establish additional requirements for the provision and protection of trees as amended at this meeting. The petition is found to be consistent with the City of Hendersonville 2030 Comprehensive Plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the petition aligns with the Comprehensive Plan strategies in R 2.3, promote preservation of woodlands, mature trees, and wooded areas are significant community defining natural features that contribute to Hendersonville's identity. LU 3.5, minimize negative impacts from growth and land use changes on existing lands, and LU 3.6, update the zoning code to ensure conformance with the comprehensive plan. We find this petition in conjunction with the recommendations presented by staff to be reasonable in the public interest based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the proposed text amendment seeks to promote compatibility between new development on sites with surrounding existing development by reducing the removal of existing site vegetation and tree canopy and enhancing the integration of new plantings and required open space. The proposed text amendment aligns with the public interest in that it seeks to offset some of the impacts of large-scale development on adjacent properties and on existing natural resources. The proposed text amendment will offset a portion of the ongoing impacts of new development on the natural environment within the city.
Is there any further discussion? Not. Those in favor of the zoning text amendment as amended this evening, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Okay. A lot of work.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone involved in that.
Absolutely.
All right, next clarification of city council priorities. Mr. Conant.
Mayor Volt, members of City Council, at your workshop meeting, I reviewed your dot voting results of your goal areas. I presented this chart based on your retreat several Fridays ago. And following the retreat, staff realized that there may have been some confusion related to the prioritization and the dot voting based on some conversations with City Council and understanding that we wanted to give the council the opportunity to discuss these priorities again and make sure they are in the order that City Council wanted. Basically, it was late in the day that Friday, and again, maybe some confusion related to how the dots were accounted for, because they were, particularly the top three were very close in their ranking, and so wanted to provide this, based on conversations with members of council, wanted to give the council opportunity to reprioritize these 10, particularly to, we focused on the top 5 at your workshop meeting last week, but understand that maybe the top three may be a little bit different than you have voted on that Friday. So wanted to give the city council, obviously you can move all 10 if you would like, but based on discussion, open it up for reprioritization, because we are going to use this and are using it for budget development. So it's critical to staff to know what your top priorities are and to understand we get them correct. So I'll stand by to answer any questions and be glad to. Our report from the retreat is in your agenda packet. You can see the voting breakdown there if you want to go into more detail, but maybe just a discussion about your priorities would be helpful. Thank you.
I'd just go ahead and kick it off since I was calling about it. I would like to definitely reshuffle it, public safety being number one. I think it should always be public safety. And I put my little red sticker on public safety, but I didn't probably follow the directions, just like I can't read emotion real well tonight sometimes. But anyway, I'd like to put public safety number one, compensation, benefits, and staff development number two, and then strong infrastructure number three. And if you look at that, public safety is most definitely impacted by us being able to have the best people here in law enforcement and in fire safety, all of the emergency responders. The compensation is going to be critical for us to be able to do that. There's just no way around it. And the strong infrastructure is also a critical piece of safety. But that was in my simple mind how I saw it. And when it came out, it bothered me because I really felt like it needed to be public safety and the things that contribute to that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I think I screwed up. I will admit that I cheated in the voting. I moved two columns together and then I merged a vote. I didn't know we weren't allowed to do that. So I completely agree with the organization of it. I think I was looking at it as long as those key things had the top votes, then that's where the priorities would go. And so I apologize for merging columns, but I agree with Jeff. That's all.
Anything else?
I mean, I'm fine if we want to rearrange them. To me, infrastructure and compensation and benefits is all contributing to public safety. And we can't, like Jeff said, have great public safety without those other two things. So for me, as long as those three are up in the top three, that they all kind of work together for me.
I agree with you.
So
I don't have a problem flipping them.
So based on that understanding, then we'll rank them public safety 1, compensation, benefits, and staff development 2, strong infrastructure. And again, if you look at the points tally in your report, they were all very close together. Strong infrastructure, those top 3 were close, and then strategic housing and managed growth were close 4th and 5th, and then we'll continue. So we'll flip-flop public safety and strong infrastructure. So that is the priority. Those priorities will be set forth in the budget as we do budget development.
All right. Do you want a formal
Yes,
motion?
please, if you will do a motion. That way it'll be in the minutes, and our budget team and our strategic, if we put our strategic plan together, we will have that. So I think there's a motion there.
Okay, I move City Council confirm our top 3 priorities in the following order. Public safety, number 1, compensation, benefits, and staff development, number 2, and strong infrastructure, number 3.
Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of confirming those top 3 priorities, say aye.
Aye.
As opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for that clarification.
Okay, next, Mr. Condit, also approval of a letter to Henderson County Legislative Delegation.
I'll ask our communications team if they'll please present a letter. So just draft letter just for the public's view. Following recent Board of Commissioner meeting. It was their mid-month meeting, the Wednesday meeting a couple of weeks ago, where lots of discussion as part of their comp plan adoption. Our Board of Commissioners presented a lot of what I felt like was some negative comments about the work of the city and of City Council, and made some accusations regarding growth in the county, around the county, and also afterwards understand there may have been some discussion regarding maybe contacting our state legislators. So staff has drafted a letter explaining the city's position on how we have, over the last 24 years or more, have spent a lot of time trying to work with the county and negotiate with the county to ease concerns about growth, ease concerns about management of the utility system. We put this letter together just to reiterate that we have worked very hard to maintain a positive relationship, and we want this information to be available to the public as well, to know that their governments, at least from the city's perspective, have worked really hard to ease those concerns that the county and the county commissioners may have. This is a bulleted list of things that we've done. I know of it, the earliest one goes back to 2000, but there's many of the others on the list that have happened in the last really 5 to 10 years. And it is as recent as 2 weeks ago, we extended another offer to assist the county in extending sewer to the Eddyville area. This is a letter we want to establish our position and show our local legislators what we've done, and we will continue to do, and just put it on the public record that we want to continue to work with Henderson County to resolve any disputes, concerns regarding growth or utility management, to keep that at the local level, and we are committed to do that, and also want to work with our state legislators. So this is a letter that's been drafted. You have seen it. We would like for the whole city council to ultimately sign it. We will send this to not only to our Senator Moffitt, but also Representative Balcom and Representative Johnson. So prepared this letter on behalf of the city council, and it will be available also for our media folks to see it. But we wanted to publicly say that, we continue to be committed to provide good governance and to work with our county partners. We have diligently, under the direction of the city council, for many, many years, and will continue. So I stand by to answer any questions or make any modifications from city council.
Anything?
I like being a fact stater.
It's a very long list.
Long list of
It's
facts.
a long, long list.
Thank you.
Is a motion there?
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council approve the attached letter to the Henderson County Legislative Delegation and authorize the city manager to distribute to the delegation.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of approving the letter, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and we will all sign that. City manager report, anything you want to highlight there?
Just note, a couple of comments. Note that your surplus items that we have approved, that I've approved in the last month, are in your agenda for your review. And also, your contingency and adjustment report is also there for your review. I will say this, Adam Stewart, Lee Smith was here for 18 years and never had a truck missing.
Oh, yeah. Can we please talk about that?
Surely missing, but no.
Can you give us an update on that?
So we did have it's a very unique situation where we had a vehicle stolen this morning. It started as some of our folks, and correct me if I get anything wrong, Chief or Adam, we had employees go for a quick breakfast. They had they had insurance meetings. They were coming back. They went to Hardee's, left an individual in the truck, sitting in the truck, and the vehicle, while the other folks were inside, somebody came out and took the vehicle. Luckily, our person got out.
I was going to say.
He was trying to open the door to get them to stop, but they got away. Within an hour or so, with the help of the sheriff's department, I think, we were able to stop the vehicle. It was not damaged. It was being driven by another person, a female by this time, but both folks were arrested. And so that was the situation. Happened over about a 2-hour period this morning, give or take a little. But I haven't seen Adam to give him a hard time about that. But no, our folks, we're just happy that our employee got out of the vehicle, didn't put themselves in too much harm's way, and the truck came. I mean, trucks are replaceable. Important that our employees safe. But it was an interesting morning.
Where were they going
We
in that big old truck?
Yeah, they found them.
Well, it's on Howard Gap.
Yeah.
In a city vehicle.
Well, I'm just like, how far do you
big one.
think you're really going to get in this?
Yeah. So,
Well, made for
To find a city vehicle.
I made for a fun text message this morning.
Yeah.
no, that's what happened. So that's my report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Anyone, city council, have anything you want to bring up?
I have comments. So
All right.
one of our council members was missing at our last meeting, probably for spring break, but it was also her birthday. And so I have gotten something to celebrate her birthday. And I would like you all to embarrass her. Hey, you guys, I love my birthday. It's my whole week.
Sing happy birthday. Yeah. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, dear Jennifer. Happy birthday to you.
I was gonna put candles on this, but they told me it's a fire hazard. I know. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
You always celebrate everybody else's
Little late.
birthday, so I thought we should celebrate yours.
All right. Okay, no closed session. So
ma'am.
we